Okay, so I'm not even gonna pretend I have an intro or ask why I don't have an intro this time. I'm just gonna jump right in.
Boom.
You have a
But after the
long
skip
road
was found,
ahead. A
I guess
long
you could
road
say
ahead.
that the speedrunners broke the game in half.
Oop. Hey, what happened to the video?
As the record was below the 30-minute
Okay, here we
mark
go.
by August of 2014, when the runner Grant Schill would set a 29:02, where the record would
So I
remain
said I
for the
wasn't gonna
rest
leave
of
that
that year.
screen, but I
There was
decided I
definitely
would
room for
because
improvement, and a new player
my
would
friend
begin to
told me
contend
you
for the
can get
record in Spyro 3
a certain weapon here that
and
I
his
wanted that
name
I thought it
is
was too late
Jeremy
to get. It
Thompson.
might still be too
Jeremy
late, but I'm
would
gonna
lower
try
the
anyway.
record throughout 2015, breaking the 29 and 28-minute barrier. Grant Schill would take the record back in October of 2015, but when Jeremy got it back himself the next month, he would never let go. And Jeremy has been the world record holder for the category ever since, occupying first place for over 6 years. But Jeremy doesn't just
Let's see
care
what he
about the
said.
record. He wanted to achieve perfection, and so he set out to lower his time until he got a run that was
Go
worthy
down
of
and
the
out of the
title.
green room. You can
When
exchange
Jeremy
points
set
for
the
it.
first
What?
ever sub 25-minute time in July 2016, you would think that that was it. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But no, Jeremy wanted to take the record lower and was starting to approach sub 24. He would achieve a 24:21
How many points do I
in
have?
July 2017,
Just 29
and
points.
pushing the record below the next minute barrier.
Yeah, it's too late, but
would
I'm
prove
gonna
to be a
see
tall
what he was
order.
talking about anyway.
In fact, it would take him 1 year and 8 months of on and off playing, but after 20,000 attempts,
Maybe I'm going the right way.
2358 was here. The run is still standing strong today and is coming up to its third year at the top, and is generally viewed as one of the greatest Spyro records of all time. Today, we're gonna take a look at how Jeremy did it, and how Spyro 3 was completed in under 24 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about.
What the? Now this is a perfect example of a molding speedrunner. Alright, let's get into the run. From the get-go, Jeremy starts
Perfect.
out in Sunrise Spring. This is one of 4 homeworlds in the game.
Oh, here we go.
All based around certain times of the day. Within these homeworlds, you can travel through portals
Oh.
to get to different levels.
It's all the
And Jeremy
weapons I
begins by
wanted
going
to get but
Sunny
couldn't
Villa,
get.
where he'll be using a trick you'll see a lot throughout this run: proxy jumping. When Spyro does a charge jump and you try to tap X as you're descending from the jump, Spyro will do a tiny stutter in the air. If you kill an enemy and do the stutter on the hitbox of an enemy's dead body, you'll be sent up into the air with high velocity. This allows Jeremy to go through the top of a building and skip straight to the end of the level.
Oh, he
Since
looks
this is
shocked.
the 80% category, Jeremy does not need to acquire all 100 eggs for the final boss entry. Instead, the objective is to rescue a character at the end of each level, which is simply done by finding and talking to them. Upon rescuing them, they will exit the portal and help you reach the next world, once you've rescued them all. Jeremy compiled a big spreadsheet with his consistency on all the major and minor hurdles in the game. It should give you an idea of how unlikely it
Exchange
is
points
for
into
this run to
dollars.
come
Yep.
together.
Okay.
Immediately after Sunny Villa, we have one of the most precise tricks in the game, with Jeremy's success rate
Put
being
items
roughly
in, dark dollars come
45%
out.
for a first try. Jeremy first lines his camera up in a precise way, and then charges forward to scrape the topmost pixels of the waterfall. With this, he triggers one of the most classic Spyro glitches: the swim in air. Spyro's swimming speed is very fast, and Jeremy can essentially go out of bounds wherever he pleases. But his next destination is Seashell Shore. This level has a 14 egg requirement for entry, but every level's loading zone in Spyro 2 and 3 is located directly beneath where the portal would be. So
The
if
door is
you can
locked.
reach it, you can enter the level early without getting the eggs, as Jeremy does in his run. In Seashell Shore, another proxy jump is used to skip to a later part of the level. Proxies have a wide range of variable heights, and Jeremy got the lowest
Okay, let me tell
possible
my
height
friend.
to make this one work. If Jeremy got a higher launch, he would have been able to save another second from going through the top of the wall. But the moment the proxy happens, Jeremy has to react on the spot and go for a backup strat if he doesn't get the desired height. He then enters a bonus challenge and quits out. Otherwise, the game won't put you in a swimming state, where you won't be able to hit the squid and finish the level. Next up is Molten Crater, which requires 10 eggs to unlock. So once again, we'll need to hit the loading trigger below the map. The entry into the level was said to be the hardest skip back when Tuval ran the game, but Jeremy makes it look easy and has it down to a T. The same goes for the boar
Let me
proxy
see
at the
like
start
if
of
there's
the
other
level.
vending
Something
machines
that
in
used
this
to be
game.
hard, but Jeremy is extremely consistent at it. He simply cruises to the end of the level and moves on with the run. With 2 more levels to go in the first homeworld, it's luckily smooth sailing. In Cloud Spires, the developers put the end of the level just a little too close for us speedrunners. And of course, we're gonna take advantage of that and complete the level in around 20 seconds. For the last level in Sunrise Spring, you may remember this guy, Moneybags, who always wants the gems you've worked so hard to collect. Luckily for us, we can rescue Sheila without paying this greedy dirtbag.
That's
In
probably
the tunnel
you need to
across the
use
Cloud
or
Spires,
you don't have
there's
the
a
points
flight
when you don't
power-up
enable the
that
room.
you
Tourism
normally
means
use to
that
get an egg at
these
the end
dollars
of
for
the
points.
tunnel.
However, there's a vending
But
machine
Jeremy
inside
turns
the S
around
rank room, which in my
immediately
opinion is a
upon
complete
grabbing
silly
the power-up,
oversight.
uses it to fly out of bounds, and grabs another swim in air from the water texture that's sticking out slightly from the wall, where he then flies into the Sheila's out loading trigger, skipping the Moneybags payment completely. This level is also fairly straightforward. You just have to take out some mushroom houses and enemies to escort a goat to the end of the level. Upon freeing all 5 characters, you'll get a convenient teleport to the balloon, which is
Oh,
why
I
the
see.
levels are done in a specific order. Before moving on to Midday Gardens, we have
Wait,
to
it says
fight
S rank
Buzz,
room. I can still enter
which
that
is a
room.
pretty easy fight as opposed to the later ones. Jeremy just has to stand near the border of the arena to get Buzz to stop rolling. In the later stages of the fight, Buzz will have a firewall around him that you need to wait out. Jeremy turns the camera sideways in order to despawn the firewall to make him vulnerable as quickly as possible. Rinse and repeat until
This is
he's
exchange
defeated.
dollars for points, but
Now it's time for Midday Gardens.
Points to items.
Home to some of the most difficult execution in the run. It's very easy for speedrunners to be
Oh,
on
thank God.
autopilot
Okay,
during the
okay,
opening
okay.
part of the run. But at some point, the difficulty starts ramping up, and you have to start paying attention. The turning point for Spyro 3 is definitely Midday Gardens, and despite its difficulty, Jeremy delivers one of the fastest Hub 2s the world has ever seen. In this
oh my
game,
God. Okay, okay. Relief.
Jeremy first needs to head to Sergeant Bird's base, which has a 700 gem requirement for entry. We've barely collected any gems or eggs so far, so we'll need another way in. Another swim in air can be used by going into this pool of water and squeezing the bottom of the bridge with the surface of the water to clip Spyro out of bounds with a well-timed charge. In Sergeant Bird's base, you have to escort the hummingbird to the end of the level, but the hummingbird's pathing is quite complex. There are a few mandatory checkpoints that Jeremy needs to pass through to get the hummingbird to move forward. But you can also get optional checkpoints by defeating certain enemies as you're going through, which can save upwards of 5 seconds over the course of the level. Jeremy takes care of this with
Points
ease
to
and
items.
moves on to the next level.
Toxic Axe.
Next is Spooky Swamp,
Saber
where
10.
Jeremy climbs some scenery
Collect
to climb
Scarf.
through a wall. And
Alright.
once again, enters the level
Cell.
early without
There's a
fulfilling
black
the
and
egg
white
requirement.
animation cell of 10
In
on
the
it.
level,
Ah,
Jeremy does
okay.
another proxy jump off of an alligator to soar across the water to get to the end quickly, with some additional egg hovering swag at the end.
Alright.
70% of runs make it past the alligator proxy at the start of the level, so it can cause some runs to end here. Proxies start getting a lot harder when the enemy you're proxying off is smaller, but if the alligator is considered small, just you wait for the next level. Jeremy now goes out of bounds to head to Bamboo Terrace, which is home to the second hardest proxy in the game, with Jeremy's estimate being a 40% success rate. The strategy for a while was to defeat all the enemies at the start and go for a trick that's known as a squeeze
I can't get the
proxy,
twin ribbon though,
which
right?
was done by wedging yourself between the wall and the rolling rock as the pandas were pushing it, then gliding through a wall to
Let me
get
see
to
my
the end.
inventory.
However, the end of the level is straight across to the right as you spawn, but the bridge to get across only comes down once you beat the level. This is where our tiny bug friend comes to our aid, as he provides us with a very tricky proxy to get on top of a rooftop.
Twin
Afterwards,
ribbon.
a trick
Oh,
called
okay,
the
so I can't get the
Scrotum
twin
Man is used
ribbon,
to
but
climb
like,
along
how do
the
I
wall
fuse it?
without losing much height. And yes, those are the words Spyro and Spider-Man put into a blender. With 2 levels to go in Midday Gardens, Jeremy tackles Enchanted Towers next, with his main goal being to flame 3 rockets to destroy the sorceress statue at the end. The start of the level and the statue is separated by a huge wall, and to get over it, Jeremy will use a unique strategy that doesn't include a proxy. He first jumps onto a ledge and makes his way to a pillar that's barely reachable with a charge jump glide into hover, where he does it once more to get on top of the wall. He then drops down and flames the rockets to close out
Alright,
the
yeah, we
level.
need to go to Castletown.
Finally comes Icy Peak, which has always been the level that's been saved for last among top runners, due to how isolated the portal is from the others. Jeremy starts out by jumping onto the cannon and taking out the big ice wall at the start. You can in theory jump around it, but it's extremely hard and only saves a second and a half, so Jeremy deemed it to not be worth it. He now performs a jump from the beginning to
Oh,
the
are you
end.
kidding me? You can't
This
combine them
one
until
is
chapter 2?
always a
That's
bit of a
stupid.
clincher. Jeremy makes this jump look easy and gets past it 80% of the time, but this long soar to the end is a huge killer for new players. All that's left is climbing the stairs and rescuing the final
Alright,
NPC
well.
in Midday Gardens.
Q
Jeremy
hair
now
ribbon
has to
increases
face
the
Spike,
range of which
second
bullets
boss
freeze
of the game.
tension.
And with
Okay.
an already difficult world, now comes a very difficult boss. It takes 6 hits to take down Spike, and
A
Jeremy
quickly hair
wants to
ribbon
take
that
his
slightly
health down
increases
as
your
low as
defense.
possible here for a trick later in Hub 3. This fight is one of the highlights of Jeremy's run, so I'm just gonna let you watch it in full.
My tactical in.
I guess I could use the pink ribbon. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing.
A 25-second fight with all of his health points drained. Perfect. Jeremy was now 3 seconds ahead of his best ever pace out of Spike. In other terms, this is the fastest run in the world up until this point.
Alright.
Let's see how it continues to unfold. Evening late.
Skip ahead all
A
this.
calm exterior, yet more brutal levels await behind the curtain. Only a small handful of Jeremy's runs make it to Evening Lake, and while he's had some good runs to this part, none are as fast as this one. So the nerves slowly start to settle in. The first level, Bentley's Outpost, luckily isn't too bad. To get into the level, Jeremy gets Spyro on top of a ladder and initiates a glide to get out of bounds. The wall collision Jeremy flies through has a weird quirk. Spyro 3 has 2 NTSC versions of the game, in what the community calls 1.0 and 1.1. For some reason, the collision on the walls at Evening Lake was made significantly higher on 1.1. You can still get out of bounds to enter Bentley's Outpost early, but it loses about a second or two. The Spike is Born cutscene is also missing on 1.0, which allows any runner with 1.0 to save 5 seconds heading into Spike. 1.1 does gain back a few seconds in a handful of spots, but overall, 1.0 saves around 6 seconds over the course of the run. So that's the version
Time to
Jeremy
lose
used
again.
to get this run. The out of bounds into Bentley's Outpost also means that not a single gem is given to this Mr. Monopoly looking head ass. So that's always great, isn't it? In Bentley's Outpost, Jeremy makes sure to load the seals onto the screen at the right time to initiate their cycle of throwing their snowballs. So when he gets near them, he can reflect them back without wasting any time.
Ow.
Afterwards, you're supposed to reflect a snowball to hit the gong, but it's easily reachable from the ground. The rest of the level is just pushing some blocks to create a path to escort Bentley's brother to the end. Simple stuff. Frozen Altars is more of what we've already seen, with the developers putting the end of the level conveniently right at the start.
Woo!
A
Alright.
proxy off a mammoth allows Jeremy to get to the other side of the temple. As a side note, Jeremy got the lowest.
Maybe it's just
proxy
because I
on
actually
the
got some
If you
sleep
get
instead of
this
staying up
right,
late,
you
but
can go to the
I don't know, I'm
right
feeling
side of
hopeful
the
for
temple
today.
to save a couple
Hope I didn't just
seconds.
jinx myself by saying that.
Oh,
Ow.
and thank God we don't have to do any boxing in this one. I could almost make
Ah,
a separate
shit.
video talking about how
I think I
bad
did
this
jinx myself. Oh, come on.
Moving on though.
Why did it have to be the horizontal one?
Using the same out of bounds as before, we now enter Fireworks Factory, home to the hardest trick in the game, the Firefly Proxy. A trick so impactful, the second fastest option is 35 seconds slower. And yes, that does mean running all the way around the level the normal way. Jeremy actually misses the Firefly Proxy in this run, so instead of going all the way around, it's faster to die to get the Firefly to respawn for another attempt, which he hits on his second try.
Hold breath,
This
attack,
is the
attack.
only major mistake Jeremy made in this run, but it's no surprise as he estimates a first try to be a 35% chance of success. Again, keep in mind,
Ow.
35% is merely Jeremy's success rate with the trick as a whole. The movement of the Firefly and also other creatures you're trying to proxy on can vary in its pathing. What threw Jeremy off
Come on.
here was the Firefly
I need to do better at timing
to the
that.
left, causing him to miss his flame by a hair. Despite the death, the run was still well alive, as Jeremy hits the last fleet, where he uses 2 piggybacking enemies to give him a little boost. Hey, I've seen this before. Now that's 2 PlayStation classics with a piggyback boost. Technically, this trick doesn't accomplish all that much, since we left Crazy Ed behind, who we have to escort to the end.
Nice.
But by running through the ship and getting the checkpoint right before the end, then dying, Crazy Ed will respawn corresponding to the checkpoint you're on. This is why Jeremy wanted to take damage during the spike fight, so he could avoid bouncing on the goop to die quicker. But the Death and Fireworks Factory set him back to full health. After respawning for the Death Warp,
I thought it looked like I was doing
Jeremy
better
uses
last night. Alright.
where he does a small shortcut by using the tip to
Like,
make it
technically
across.
this morning.
After completing the level, Jeremy doesn't quit out right away as usual. He heads back to the goop to
Okay,
trigger
there we
the
go.
zombie glitch. Essentially, by pausing right before Spyro is about to die from the goop, you can quit out of the level, making the game think he's dead when he's really not. This is a frame-perfect pause, and if you pause early,
Shit,
there's
okay.
no super easy way to advance the game 1 frame forward. Just a good gut feeling and timing, making this trick a rough 70% chance of success. The zombie glitch has a couple of side effects, but the one we're looking for in this run is this one. Yup, you can carry the swimming stage through the surface of the water, which is how Jeremy makes his way into Charmed Ridge. Here, you have 3 enemies to attempt the proxy to the end with, making the success
I wonder if you can get
very high.
revivements from
In this
the
run, Jeremy doesn't need
from the
any
vending
of it,
machines or
and
somewhere
nails
else
it
too.
as the first guy, and gets the best proxy high too. He glides to the end with ease and finishes off the final level.
Maybe I just need to
Lake.
get the lead out. I did just wake up like an hour
Up
ago.
until this point, every trick that's been labeled with a percentage has more or less been in Jeremy's control. Sure, there's some different pathing the AI can take for the proxies, and the spike fight had a bit of luck involved. But all of that pales in comparison to what's next. Now it's time for Scorch.
Ow.
This arena might
Alright.
as well represent hell. RNG hell. Your main assistant in this fight is Bentley, who will circle the arena and spawn rockets for you. You can
Okay.
either get 1 big green rocket or 50 small red rockets. You would think the big green rocket does more damage than the small red ones. But see, that's where you decided to use logic. There's literally no damage difference between the two, meaning you always want the 50 red ones. With all the tricks
What's
Jeremy's
wrong
had
with
to
me?
do thus far, less than 1% of runs make it to Scorch on pace. And to keep that pace going for the sub 24, he flat out needs to hit a coin flip right at the end. If you get a green rocket, you need to wait an extra 11 seconds for another.
Let me check the
attempt
weather
at
because I think it's gonna rain again
It's
today.
slow, but
I
you
need to set up
can
my rain
continue
catcher.
if it's fast enough. Luckily for Jeremy, he got the red rockets he needed, but his past runs were not so fortunate. Jeremy's 8 best runs to score.
This is gonna rain at 4, but I don't know. It rained sooner than that yesterday.
Instantly killing every single run. The odds of that happening are 1 in 65,536, or 0.0015%. Completely ridiculous, I know, but I'm not even done talking about luck in this fight. Scorch has 2 main attacks, the lightning balls and the eggs. Ideally, you want as many lightning ball attacks as possible, as it lowers his shield faster, meaning you can hit him more frequently. Jeremy only got 1 lightning ball attack in this run, which lost him some time. But he was overjoyed with the idea that the string of green rockets was finally over. With first try red rockets, Jeremy finally had a run past Scorch that was fast enough to potentially be the world's first 23-minute time for Spyro 3. We've now come full circle, back to where this video started, with Sorceress Skip being the next goal for Jeremy. You've previously seen how most loading zones in the game are directly stored beneath the inactive portals, which allows for early entries. But for some reason, the Sorceress loading trigger is a different kind than the ones we usually see for the normal levels. This time, the loading trigger is where it should be, but is way larger than what's visible, and extends far above the door itself. It is reachable if you can get Spyro onto the castle walls, then jumping into
All
it,
right.
as Tuval did when he discovered it in late 2013. But how exactly does Jeremy get Spyro onto the rooftop? Well, here's how. Let's take a look at that again. Jeremy gets Spyro stuck under the helmet where the Desert Ruins portal normally is. To prevent Spyro from permanently getting stuck anywhere, the developers put in a mechanic that ejects him out if he ever does find himself stuck. This is similar to the old boulder pushing strat in Bamboo Terrace, a so-called squeeze proxy, where upon the game ejecting Spyro from the helmet, he has so much speed that he gets flung up the wall and is able to glide onto the castle walls and enter the final boss. Now it's time to confront the sorceress, and this fight is like a complex game of chess. It would take me an extremely long time to cover everything here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kill myself if Susie goes down because I have no way to revive.
The sorceress has 3 phases: the cannon phase, the tank phase, and the UFO phase. Jeremy is going to attempt to skip the final UFO phase, since killing the sorceress with the tanks is much faster. Jeremy has labbed this fight religiously, and has studied things like spawn points for the cannons and tanks, how
my friend is asking me how I can exchange dollars into points,
and how the sorceress moves and attacks. I'm just gonna let the fight unfold and explain some things along the way. Jeremy first starts by going to the outer ring where Agent 9 is, to get a better overview of where the cannons are flying in from. There's 5 spawn points for the cannons, but only 3 will fly in, and some cannons have priority in dropping over others. Jeremy has this all figured out, and simply waits beneath the cannon with the highest priority to drop. Once on the cannon, you have to hit the sorceress 2 times for the cannon phase to end. When a phase ends, it forces you off your current vehicle and wipes out all other vehicles on the field. However, you can sneak in a 3rd hit as long as there's a cannonball in the air as the phase ends, saving a tiny bit of time. Agent 9's targeting is a little wonky in this fight, so occasionally you'll get a 2nd cannon drop during the tank phase. This is what happened during Jeremy's run, but he doesn't want to do too much
looks like you're gonna get revivements in the gotcha area with the little ball machine.
On the field. Once the first tank is dropped, Jeremy shoots the sorceress once and jumps off the tank immediately. By doing this, he does enough damage to start the UFO phase, but Agent 9 is already on his way to shoot down another tank. At this point in the fight, this is the final phase, so you're never forced off your vehicle. So Jeremy uses the tank to take down the sorceress. For how complex this fight can be, Jeremy actually had one of the most simple scenarios. In his own words, the fight can often be more intricate to navigate than it was in my 23, but in receiving a random 2nd cannon drop, I was able to create the vehicle drops I wanted pretty naturally, and without much manipulation. And that concludes Jeremy Thompson's Spyro 3 speedrun in 23 minutes and 58 seconds. To this day, no one has managed to get even remotely close, and Jeremy's days at the top will keep on building. Some might be watching this run in confusion. Why would anyone go through 20,000 attempts to get this kind of run? The only real answer is personal accomplishment. As an old saying goes, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. And the reason this run has stood on top for almost 3 years is because Jeremy tasted that sweet victory. He worked for several years to get this kind of run. He spent countless hours in the lab, figuring out things like the sorceress fight, and threw himself at the game over and over until the stars aligned. Just like anyone sets goals for themselves.
The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. That's why I'm doing this.
Some find pleasure in speedrunning video games, an introspective hobby that some take quite seriously. Not only in the quest to improve your own time, but also in the involvement with the friends you make along the way in the game's tight-knit communities. If you can't respect someone like Jeremy for his efforts, then that's a shame, because some were very impressed. And that's the developers themselves. In April 2018, Jeremy got invited to the Insomniac studio to play Spyro 3 in front of the very people that created the game. He was able to showcase an impressive run that clocked in at the half-hour mark. But most importantly, He was able to showcase what he and the community had discovered in the many years of speedrunning the game. Additionally, he was able to hear insights on the game's design choices and was able to show off cool bugs that gave everybody in the room a bit of a chuckle.
Did you discover this by playing over and over again?
Okay,
or
so
was it a
I'm going to close out the game and I'm going to go back to the gacha area.
There's a large community behind it.
Okay. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and the sorceress is in an area portal.
It's gonna blow out my ears
they
again.
bleed a lot larger. So the sorceress area portal, but it just bleeds into the mountain. So if you touch that place, you go straight in.
Insomniac definitely deserves some credit for putting this together. Welcomes their speedrun and Insomniac has always been very accepting. They even threw together a similar event for Ratchet and Clank speedruns, where they brought in my good pal Ben. I've
Head
always
back to
had
the
respect
gacha
for runners
area.
like Jeremy, runners that don't
Maybe I
stop
should read
playing a
that sign
category
on
until
one
they
there.
believe it's reached the human limit. While there's an obvious mistaken fireworks factor you can point out, it's easy to ignore the countless amount of things that went right. The raw combination of execution and luck in his 2358 is an estimated 0.012%,
Wait, wrong place. I had to go in the B
or
ring
1 in
room.
8,574. Staggeringly low odds. If anyone wants to topple this run, they would need even cleaner execution, better luck, or find new strategies to save more time. There does
Welcome to
exist
Ball
a tool
Machine.
such
Insert
as
points to
speedrunning
game
Spyro
prizes.
3 that was
Minimum
created by
100 points. More
Lapanya
points
and
equals gold.
Nystrovsky.
Increases gold
But
chance.
Jeremy has
Even
claimed
miss gold
that
prize.
virtually
Next
no
time, gold chance
strategies in the
increases
past
faster.
were viable
Hit the
in
gold
actual
prize.
speedruns.
Gold
The
chance will
task
reset,
itself is
etc.
also worth checking out.
Return to
and I
the
put a link
camera
to it
and
in
thank
the
Tenna
description.
for a great
But I
toy.
mainly
Thanks,
wanted
Tenna.
to cover Jeremy's journey to
Is
achieve his
all-
ultimate run in this video.
It's all part of what it says on the
As
sign.
of right now, Jeremy also holds the world record in the 100 egg category, where he achieved a new record of 50-34 as recent as August 2021. He was going to push the category to a 49, but ran out of free time to grind the
Let me see
game.
here.
Jeremy,
have to, like,
of
input a
course,
certain
has a
amount.
life to live outside of the game, but sees a possible return to Spyro around April 2022. But that's just an estimate he told me. Jeremy is a guy who's never seemed to care about popularity, money, or anything that speedrunning and streaming can net you. He's just a guy that embarked on a personal journey. A man and his game, a man and his goal. Whether or not Jeremy's return to the game is later than expected, staying safe in this chaotic state of the world is definitely the main priority. I wish the absolute best to Jeremy. Thank you for being an inspiration to others, and thank you for keeping Spyro speedrunning alive.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Take care, and have a good one.
Revive me for gold drops. It says I won't actually lose these points, so I might as well get the Easter egg while I can.
Breakthrough Ruins, or BTR for short, is the fourth to last mission in Jack 3. The final four missions fall into a group I like to call the point of no return missions. The mission prior to BTR has Jack go through the palace ruins, defeating enemies, breaking down walls, and using the light Jack wings until you finally reach the end. When you go through this final passage, there's no way back to Haven City, and the game locks you into completing the final gauntlet. As Jack and Daxter assume their fate, Damus smashes through a
So
door
it looks
above the
like,
two and saves the day. You now take control of the Ramrod, or the Slam Dozer, depending on the version of the game you own,
It looks
which
like
is a
you can
vehicle
just
that's getting
barely
into sights in
get
the
enough
Spargus
points.
garage from a very early point in the game, but its usage is for this mission alone. Your goal is to work your way through the palace ruins, smashing into doors, lowering bridges, and disabling electric force fields by ramming into the towers that are powering them. When you reach the
Man,
end of
I'm
the level,
broke.
probably the most
Okay,
memorable
don't
cutscene in the
exchange.
game begins
Exit.
to play, and the tone shifts, letting you know you're near the end of the game. For this reason, many players remember this level for its big turn in the story at the end of a great trilogy, but others remember it for an entirely different reason.
Try spending.
What? Dude, no, come on.
Hmm.
The gameplay aspect of BTR on your first time through is nothing but flipping and falling over. While you may think that the Dark Makers are the cause of your problems, or maybe the randomly falling missiles from the sky, the actual worst enemy is one that might not be so obvious: the terrain. Driving through BTR efficiently requires multiple micro adjustments that your average player isn't going to consider. Getting through this level isn't hard. Getting through this level quickly is a nightmare. In the earlier days of speedrunning, the level was so unintuitive that even the most practiced players would constantly be finding the car on its head. In the great words of runner Hilary Puff,
It's kind of hard to tell if you've never seen this game before.
Hillary
what
Puff.
VCR is because it all looks bad.
practicing this level seemed like wasted effort. We knew what we wanted to do, but most of the time it was much easier said than
I
done.
wish you could see how
With
big
that
the
in
map
mind,
is.
Let's dial it back and take a look at the skeleton of a route for getting through BTR in 2012. The route back then for BTR followed a somewhat one-to-one developer-intended path, with the exception of a few shortcuts. Once you make your way out of the opening, you enter the first courtyard where you need to take down 2 towers to deactivate the barrier. The left is taken care of first, then the one on the right, since that puts you closer to where you need to go. In the next segment, you have to topple over 2 bridges to proceed, but one of them is conveniently skipped by jumping and boosting over a gap. Take down the tower in the corner and head through the disabled barrier. You're then intended to make your way around a big curve in a small water segment, but there's a little ledge at the start that you can make it up onto, which skips going all the way around. You then break the tower, turn around.
I know this is a
and
maze, so
head
the
on
point is
through.
not being
The
knowing
next
where to
bit is
go,
fairly
but still.
intended as you make your way through some zigzags. 2 towers here and here to disable a barrier, and then 2 more here and here to make it to the ending. The final barrier has the most amount of towers you need to destroy to disable the force field, which is 5. And the order the game intends you to go in is very slow. You're expected to go through the pit at the bottom, get the towers on the far end, turn back on yourself, and clean up the last 2 towers. A faster route wouldn't take too long to figure out though. If you start on the very left hand side and jump over the gaps with your boosts, you can get 3 quick towers in a row very fast. You then lower the bridge to the middle, get the 4th tower, then the bridge to the end, where you break the final tower and finish the mission. This would essentially be the route for the next year or so, and the best players at the time would finish the level in around 2 minutes 30 seconds. But a handful of improvements would be made if we fast forward to 2015. An improvement to the water segment shortcut was found by Qatar by ramping up on a piece of terrain. Turley found a consistent way to break this tower by ramping up this sloped surface, waiting for the car to naturally face downwards, then boosting. Raccoon was the first person to standardize a technique where you jump into the side of the towers, which would save time throughout the entirety of BTR.
Okay, it looks like doing this gets rid of the machine, so yeah. Looks like I'm gonna have to.
Bobby also found this wall clip at the start of BTR,
Whoops.
which
I meant to
looks
close the
like
game, not
a
Steam.
skip, but the level doesn't load afterwards.
I should have finished gambling
At some
first.
point, you also started skipping knocking over the last 2 bridges for the ending. The first jump of the 2 can easily land you in the pit if you don't do it well, And the second jump, also named Crater Jump, has you launch your way over to the ending while hitting the final tower in the process. Around this time, however, different from the ones found before, was discovered. First berries.
All right, let's try this again. Do I still have? Yeah, I do.
As mentioned previously, the opening courtyard requires you to break 2 towers in order to
So I need to
descend the
finish
force field.
gambling first.
This was now skipped with this jump, using the side of the mountain to slide over the barrier. Depending on your landing, the time saved can vary, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 seconds. This skip was considered pretty ridiculous at the time, especially when Raccoon would go on to nail it first try in a marathon setting at ESA 2015. Upon dying later in BTR, he had to go back to the start, where he would nail it first try again. This trick was kind of the last straw that made a lot of people from the mid to low level side of things.
Let me
fall
see
out
the
of
guy for the
running
ball
game.
machine.
The collective thought was, well, I'm probably never going to do that, so I think quitting now is probably the best time. Having to deal with the awful terrain.
They call it a gumball machine, but it's actually a gotcha ball machine, but whatever.
Practice the rest of the game, just to lose it all to BTR at the end. Despite all the other difficult missions in the rest of the run, BTR is the mission that single-handedly strikes the most fear and frustration into the minds of its players. No other mission has caused players to quit or has prevented people from learning Jak 3 as much as BTR.
Gold rewards.
This
Okay,
mindset
so
is
Revive
common
Min is a
amongst the
gold
community
drop,
at large,
okay.
including viewers of the game on Twitch. It might surprise you then to find out that there's a set of 3 players who think the exact opposite. That BTR is the best vehicle level in the series, contains the most depth out of all the missions in the Jak 3 speedrun, and has endless potential for improvement and skips. These 3 players are Goofy, Wotan, and myself. Goofy was really the first person to sort of enlighten the world about how sick BTR could actually be. He would grind it a lot. Like a lot. While everyone else was getting BTR.
Okay, so I just need to add in enough for it to be 100.
Out 2 flats. He would develop such a great understanding of the terrain and the control over the ramrod, he was able to minimize stucks, avoid spinning out, and keep consistently high speed throughout the level. Oh, and just to flex, he would go through the whole level in first-person mode and get fairly competitive times doing it. He would go on to find a couple of barrier skips that didn't seem super viable, but the potential was really starting to shine through. This one after the water segment requires a tight squeeze on the left-hand side, but even if you manage to pull it off in a run, it's barely any faster. He also managed to find a skip for the final barrier.
This Chinese wardrobe is quiet. He's grinding above feeding it to us. What, people easy grinding up people?
You have to have the vehicle go straight up against the barrier, boost once, then boost again as you hit the ground, and hope you go flying 20 feet in the air to make it over. While he may have struggled a bit to figure out the level at first, just like anyone else, BTR would eventually turn into Goofy's playground, and his magnum opus would come in 2017, when he would discover this jump.
Blue ribbon, okay.
What you just saw is the BTR oop jump. It saves 18 seconds and is one of the hardest skips in the game's history. This skips a large portion of the level, including 2 barriers.
Tension max.
The key to nailing it lies in boosting correctly. The ramp
Only have 45 points. Okay, well, let me see the items I got.
Use it once, you have to wait 3 seconds to use it again, indicated by the lights in the bottom left. You need to boost to make it across the gap just like before, but you can't go up against the slope too fast. You need the perfect amount of speed so that when you're ramping off the slope, your boost is ready in the nick of time, and you launch yourself way into the air.
Let me see if I can like try to like
hopefully you land on the other side.
win the gold
spending
ones.
everything perfect,
Any
but being slightly too far right makes you hit a wall, causing you
like
to
the
fall
long way.
asleep.
Probably it's
And if
probably
you too
on.
far left,
It's
you'll
probably
most
not
likely
very
land on top of
viable,
the wall
honestly.
and
But
fail.
I'm gonna try.
And sometimes you'll just explode. You
know what? I don't think I don't think losing all my money is worth it. Classic gambling.
Between the tires and on the very top of the middle. This means can easily be fatal. It's yet another negative that drove people away from the game. But Goofy was never deterred. He saw the oop jump as a challenge and used it to push himself to improve at Jack. When I say a challenge, I really mean a challenge. Upon its discovery, Goofy was the only person insane enough to attempt this in a real run. And during his first sessions, he would nail it about 20%
I'm just gonna go
of the
for it.
time. Runs before 2015 always consisted of having a BTR that had an average of 2 flips or so. But Goofy was slowly starting to reach a stage where his driving skills were so good, he would almost never tuck below them. With his consistent play and his incorporation of the oob jump, Goofy's BTRs were getting as low as 140. When new time savers are found in BTR, eventually a push to lower the world record will commence. And the guinea pig category always ends up being hero mode. Hero mode is
Actually,
plus
I just changed my mind. I'm gonna try that method I suggested. If it doesn't work, I can just
This is actually extremely common practice in all forms of speedrunning. From your multi-hour long RPGs to your 10-second ILs, the shorter the run you're doing, the riskier the run tends to be. At the 7-minute mark in hero mode, you bet your ass that every trick in the book is getting used. Hero mode has
All right.
barriers in the category all by himself. He was the first to
readjusting myself.
sub 19 and sub 18. Around the time he broke the 18-minute barrier, Wotan, a newcomer to the game in 2018, was quickly catching up and showing promise, specifically in hero mode. He was even able to take the record from Goofy at multiple points. Wotan's playstyle is very methodical. He likes his lineups and visual cues, especially when he started teaching himself the oob jump. When his inner flame is lit, it's not uncommon to see a stream on for 8 to 12 hours at a time. He's just that invested in the grind. Goofy and Wotan would trade the record a handful of times through the 17s until Goofy landed on a 17-17 and Wotan landed on a 17-18. The world record was thought to be tied for a while until a proper retiming of Wotan's run proved otherwise. Sitting in third place was me. My time, 1850. The gap between second and third place was insanely large, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do anything about it. I've never really been the type of player to focus on hero mode at all. I've always had my eyes on the longer
There's something
stuff,
in this
like
white
Out of
capsule.
Bounds and all
It's
missions,
fuzzy.
but
It's
enjoyed
fluffy.
watching Goofy and Wotan stream
Did you?
hero mode
I don't know.
runs. The
I didn't read that
category
rest.
where
I didn't read the
splits
rest.
barely deviate and where a 2-second time loss is a lot. The mastery and perfection some people strive for was intriguing and kept me watching. After the record stood at 17-17 for a while, I had a talk with Wotan about a plan to push the record below the next minute barrier. With what we knew at the time, a 16 surely was not possible. It seemed like every single segment in the run was exhausted for time save. But of course, there was an exception. We went back to the level that always had something left to give. BTR. Wotan and I discussed the possibility of a 16-minute time if someone dared to go for the infamous final barrier skip that Goofy had found in 2016. People had experimented with finding setups for final barrier skip in the past.
I think I'm
but
gonna be
nothing
going back and
consistent
forth
enough
through
to
these
run.
rooms for a
The
while.
double boost method that I talked about earlier was so hard to set up, and getting sufficient height to make it over the barrier was too rare. After a couple of nights where the three of us labbed things out, we would eventually construct the birth of the bounce method.
TV slop, okay.
By driving up the stairs at the very end and bumping
200
into the
points is
barrier
added to
while
your
holding
score.
back on the left analog stick and maintaining low speed, the ramrod gets its front tires pushed backwards and will have its nose pointing upwards. After jumping and
You received a
boosting
fortune.
at the correct moment,
Chris felt a
it's
feeling of
possible
deja
to
vu.
fly over the barrier.
However, the handwriting
If
was
done perfectly, you
eligible.
would save about
Chris
12
felt a
seconds
feeling
at
of
the
deja
ending.
vu.
While this was way better than the older version, there were still so many things that could go wrong. If the back tires clip the barrier as you're making the jump, it can flip the car over on its head on the other side.
Since your guard is
You'll
added to your
finish the
armors.
mission, but the car will land on its weak point in the cutscene, causing it to blow
Sufficient
up,
points,
which
alright.
unlocks the game. You can also get what I like to call the 1,000-degree knife, where the middle of the car gets sliced as it gets stuck in the middle of the barrier, ending your run as well. I haven't even talked about the end zone yet, so here's one more way
Whoops,
Final
didn't mean to do
Barrier
that.
Skip can be a problem. You can actually overshoot the end level trigger. It doesn't sound bad on paper until you realize that the developers only made it possible to progress if you're driving forwards into the ending. If you overshoot on the other side, the only way to finish the mission is to plant the back tires against the barrier and drive forward. The time saved for hitting this trick was too good to pass up, and so a gold rush ensued between Goofy and Wotan to see who could hit it first, and maybe even do it on a good enough pace to be the first to break the next minute barrier. Runs would start the same way as they always have. Complete the arena missions, drive to the temple, do an out-of-bounds hover, get to
I remember
the carrier,
with Jack and Dexter, I only played like 3 games in the
and traverse
franchise.
the
Like the
Boss
very
Road.
first one,
and if you
the
run
third
a
one,
small
and
distance
the
long,
Daxter
this is
spin-off.
where the heart starts to drop.
Those are the
As
only games I
BTR
played.
starts, you suddenly remember that you have to put your hours of practice together into the cleanest possible driving segment. At the highest level of play, a BTR time of 122 is achievable.
Flowchart.
If you have perfect
Okay.
driving, you nail the oob jump with a perfect landing, and get a flawless first try final barrier skip.
Got a
As the
golden
grind
tennis
began,
statue.
Wotan would be the first to strike. He would be the first person to nail
Alright.
both BTR skips in the same run, tying the record at 17-17, getting redemption on that pesky retime from earlier.
100 points
was
is added
still
to
a
your
lot to
score.
go. 2
Okay.
days later, Goofy was on pace for something really good with BTR. After making it through the oob jump, he approached the
Tenetai.
final barrier skip.
A giant heavy-duty bulletproof style, huh? How to even wear it?
This run was the first with a real chance at 16. However, as the run came to a close, Goofy would get an extra laser on the last phase of the final boss due to an enemy spawning late. In the end, though, it was still a pretty big new world record of 17:04.
Fuck me, man. It's just unfortunate how much I can do. I think I got an extra spawn.
I don't know why I keep going back to this one.
Something looked off during the last phase. Like I saw an extra spawn. I think like come up in the middle of the platform. And I think that's what fucked it for me.
Getting the extra laser loses about 7 seconds, so Goofy wasn't too thrilled about losing out on the first 16. This gave Wotan a window to strike, as he was also fully
Kind
capable
of want to
of
keep the
getting
golden
time.
statue, but at the same time,
Unfortunately, Wotan had many runs on pace that could have been 16, but
have a fight to
BTR
win.
took most of them away. A new problem we never ran into before including Final Barrier Skip was the ability
Or
to
try to
kill
win,
this
anyway.
enemy, appropriately named the Dark Chicken by the community, that tends to block you when performing the crater jump to the end. Since we now approach from a much closer angle, the auto-aim on the ramrod doesn't have much time to aim at him, so he's usually still in the way when you're trying to make the jump. It's pretty easy to hit him and fall down, which, needless to say, is the end of your run. Despite the increase in run killers, Wotan would push through and improve his time to 17:11 on March 17th.
Finally, man!
50 points.
Meanwhile, I'd been doing some grinding myself just for fun, with the goal of
100
getting
points.
17 of my own. I actually managed this a lot quicker than I thought, which prompted me to keep going. The activity in the category was also a big motivator.
TV dinner.
Goofy would be stuck on 17:04 for a while, and the same can be said for Wotan and his PB. This gave me my own window to
Haha,
strike
Lancer.
as I chip away at my PB entering
Oh,
the
I'm an item.
mid-17s. A large contributor to my improvement was the exclusion of Final Barrier Skip until I really needed it. When I achieved 17:25 on March 20th, I realized that I was actually pretty close to the record, and half the time save left to go was in Final Barrier Skip. So now it was time to incorporate it. I'd been practicing Final Barrier Skip offline throughout the month because I had a sinking feeling I was going to have to do it in runs someday. The time was now upon me, and I would cash out 3 days later with a 17:12. 17:12, oh, not second place, I think. I don't think that was 11. The following day, March 24th,
Why do I keep going
was
here?
maybe one of the craziest days
Wait,
in
never
Jak
mind.
3 speedrunning history. With how quickly I caught up to Goofy and Wotan, it was now fully in my head that I had a slim chance of being the first to get 16. So So I gave it my all, muted the game audio, and put on something to get me fired up. As I started my attempts, I felt extremely focused, and 50 minutes would fly by very quickly.
At least they're getting healing items. But like they're useless when you just knock some Ralph and Susie's health down to 999.
The album I had just put on came to a close, and I hit the jackpot with the best final boss ever done. 1705 was my time, so agonizingly close to Goofy's 1704. Not more than 5 minutes later, Goofy would post his splits in the Discord, and those splits said 1703. I was still streaming when I got the news, and felt mixed emotions as I considered quitting, knowing that Goofy would beat me to the punch, which he historically has multiple times. But I shrugged it off, put on the sound of perseverance, and persevered. Once again, I found myself on a run at the tail end of the album. I was -6, but I was going up against an insane final boss. I PB'd 1704, a time that would have been a tied world record less than an hour ago. I was pissed. I worked so hard but choked too much time away on the final boss. No 16, no world record. I felt like my body was going to give out from the emotional drainage I had experienced. I was in denial that I'd missed out on a world record tie, so I went to retime it even though I knew it probably wasn't it.
Yeah, it was definitely 04. Alright, we're going again.
I had to go again. So far
Might as well
through the
use the
stream,
poison
though,
for something.
I noticed the pattern emerging.
Perfect timing. That's the end of that album anyway. One to symbolic, one to sound of perseverance, one to human. Is that how
Broken
things work?
sword.
Within the 2-hour uptime, I had 2 runs make it to BTR.
I didn't even know this. I had this.
Both of which PB'd, and both of which hit the oob jump and final barrier skip first try. Despite thinking my consistency
So-
was a coin flip
so-
and a good day for both tricks,
Well, you felt
I
glad,
was hitting
yeah.
them with a 100% success rate. I didn't think I could do it a third time. This is insane. I don't believe this. I actually don't believe this. The pattern came full circle. A third album finished, a third 1 second PB. 1703, tying the record.
You see the fortune. The aqua spirits trapped in the coolers are beautiful and best of all, recyclable. Is that why the water coolers attack you? Because there's aqua spirits in there?
Did I fucking do it? Did I get world? I think I got 03.
Did we dinner?
Goofy had been grinding himself to exhaustion the same way I had offline. So when I tied the record, we both were so dead beat that we shook hands, called it a night, and vowed not to play tomorrow for health reasons. After our break day, the trend would ensue as usual. Many runs to BTR, and many dead runs in BTR.
I'm not gonna save because let's see. I might have like nicer cookie, put it in here. Flat soda, put it in here. Yeah, I'm not gonna save because I don't know. I may have better RNG next time. Assuming there is a next time.
Get out of my way! I happened to fluke a final barrier skip on an okayish run, and surely enough, a great final boss would net me 1701. Now so tantalizingly close to a 16. 100% world record. 100% world record.
And with deluxe dinners, I got TV dinner though.
And my game crashed.
2 days later, it finally happened. And fittingly, I would get my best ever BTR and close out the run with a nail biter to finish. Come on, I got it. Is this it? Oh, it's close. Oh, it's close. It's coming down to the last hit. Oh my god. It's flat or 59. A sub 17 had been achieved, but the saga wasn't complete. Since it took all of us to conquer Final Barrier Skip, it would only feel right once all of us had 16. It wouldn't be long for Goofy, as a 1658 would await him 2 days later. Finally, Wotan, after a slew of close runs, would have a nail-biter finish of his own. It's 16! Oh, shit! And thus, the hunt for the 16.
Yeah, alright. Maybe I should just go for the gold ones every time.
Come in all of this,
Because otherwise it's like useless.
every speed
Right?
game has that big turning point where it's
But then I won't get like the cute cosmetics. I don't know. Maybe my priorities are too screwed.
Look no further than guess it. Goofy has found a way to skip over this barrier by ramping up the sparkling scenery and squeezing through the right-hand side. This can easily get you stuck though, and only saves 3 seconds. It's more at risk, but it might be necessary at this point. Additionally, people have recently experimented with trying to go through the entirety of BTR on the jet road instead of
All right.
the ramp run. While possible, it's currently too slow to be viable. But saving space in the future could happen. Besides hero mode, the next step would be putting final barrier skip into longer categories like first. You would have to do it at the 33-minute mark and 48-minute mark, so while daunting, it provides a significant time save for that category too. The main takeaway is that there's always going to be something extra on this level. What started out as an inconsistent mess turned into a gold mine for the very best to squeeze out as much time as possible. 230 was the best time people could pull out a decade ago, but with current scale of knowledge, we're down to almost half of that. Despite the level looking unappealing at first glance, something about it draws the eye. Viewers can't seem to look away when top runners are ahead going into this level, and I think a lot of it has to do with how smooth we make it look. I really believe that BTR is a fun and rewarding level if you decide to put in the time. I'm not expecting anyone to
I hear
agree,
the
but
Dragon Ball Z
next time
Budokai
you see
music.
this level, now you know that there's a lot more to it. Thanks for watching, and special thanks to my patrons shown on screen for hanging in during a long upload dry streak. I really appreciate it. As always, take care, and have a good one.
Maybe we should still play like quote unquote retro games. I don't know what counts as retro. Is Dragon Ball Z Budokai retro? I know it's nostalgic for me. Huh. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and just do the gold ones. I'm just gonna do the gold cut points. Even though I'll probably lose all my dark dollars. But this is a pacifist run, so I'm probably gonna make the money back anyway, but still. I'm greedy. Blow my eardrums out again.
Have guessed that the connector levels would hold the most rich and consistently
place,
defied
alright.
the limits of what was thought possible, and have forever changed the way the game is played. Progressing through each of these levels requires riding a vehicle called the Zoomer. Unlocking the Zoomer to each connector level comes with the cost of collecting a large amount of power cells, the game's main collectible. For many years, skipping these power cell requirements was considered impossible in every way. The idea that you could get through Fire Canyon,
Keep going to
Mountain
the wrong
Pass, and
vending
Lava Tube
machines.
through other means besides the Zoomer was a big stretch. But of course, these are speedrunners we're talking about, and they will always find a way. Over time, the Jack speedrunning community have managed to lower the power cell count for beating the game from its intended 77 to now only 8. Let's see how they did it.
Okay.
The sponsor of today's video is a trustworthy and reliable brand that I've used for months, and that is Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN is a fast and easy to use VPN service that can be used on unlimited devices in your home. I currently have
trying
Surfshark
to do the
on my
math in my
computer
head.
and my phone,
probably
which
checks
helps
out, but
me
I
be
don't know,
secure at
that's-
all times from shady corporations attempting to steal my data. It feels nice to know that with a simple click of a button in the Surfshark app, I can assure myself that I can be completely safe on public Wi-Fi when I'm outside. Another big perk with Surfshark for me personally is being able to listen to underground songs and albums on YouTube that I can't find elsewhere on streaming services like Spotify. Occasionally these songs will be blocked in my country, but Surfshark allows me to change my location to anywhere in the world. Surfshark also maintain a strict no logs policy, so you truly are safe when using their service. You can get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deal.
I don't know, I feel like the math isn't mathing. It probably is mathing, but
Ricky for 84% off. And
my next
4
save scum, I'll
extra
try
months
to.
for free.
I'll try to
That's
do like one
surfshark.deal
little bit at a
/Ricky.
time.
Progressing through Jak 1 is relatively similar to many other 3D platformers of the era, consisting of multiple hub areas separated by the connector levels. You run
Let's see
around
if
the
there's
hub
something
levels,
else I can-
collecting precursor orbs, which are the game's currency, scout flies, which are kind of like Mario 64's red coins, and power cells, which you need a certain number of to move from one hub.
Hmm. What's going on with Jack Doherty? Hmm. Hmm.
Clearly, the walls are closing in on Jack Doherty,
Here we
who's
go.
one of the most infamous IRL streamers, who's essentially known for harassing. harassing people in public than hiding behind his bodyguard. And recently, he's been taking a lot of L's for the entire world to see, including crashing multiple cars, being dumped by his girlfriend, admitting that he built his entire business and income around his now ex-girlfriend's OnlyFans. But just when he thought Jack couldn't stoop any lower, he decided that one embarrassing car crash wasn't enough humiliation. No, he actually faked another crash just for clout. And of course,
Attention
because
max,
it's Jack
alright.
Doherty, he did it in the most cringe and obvious way possible.
Oh my god! Christy! Yes, it's bad! Are you okay?
Blue ribbon.
Are you okay? Bro, this is why I don't let you drive.
What was that? I mean, like, I guess he just makes content for kids because there's no way anyone above the age of 13
When the user
would believe
uses
they
a
just
healing
crashed
move,
that car
requires
into the wall.
slightly more
Obviously, there's a
HP.
lot of questions to be had with that video. Why
What's
was
tension
the
max
wall
do?
damaged? Why did they run out of the car acting like they just crashed it when they clearly didn't? Is this like an attention play, or did he just very poorly try to use his new girlfriend as like some sort of play, or did he just very poorly try to use his new girlfriend as like some sort of escape? A lot of questions to be had with that video. Why wasn't the wall damaged? Why did they run out of the car acting like they just crashed it when they clearly didn't?
Bro, this is why I don't let you drive.
What was that? Because it's Jack Doherty, he did it in the most cringe and obvious way, pumped by his girlfriend, admitting that he built his entire business and income around his now ex-girlfriend's OnlyFans. But just when he thought Jack couldn't stoop any lower, he decided that one embarrassing car crash wasn't enough humiliation. No, he actually faked another crash just for clout. And of course, because it's Jack Doherty, he did it in the most cringe and obvious way possible.
Raises TP to full in
Oh
battle.
my God.
Okay.
Christy! Yes, it's bad. Are you okay? Are you okay? Bro, this is why I don't let you drive.
What was that? I mean, like, I guess he just makes content for kids because there's no way anyone above the age of 13 would believe they just crashed that car into the wall. Obviously, there's a lot of questions to be had with that video. Why wasn't the wall damaged? Why did they run out of the car acting like they just crashed it when they clearly didn't? Is this like an attention play, or did he just very poorly try to use his new girlfriend as like some sort of scapegoat for him just crashing his car? Like, there's just a whole bunch of questions here. But Jack posted this video right after the rental car company he rented from posted a video about this incident.
My girlfriend was driving and like, I don't know what happened, like she lost control and like kind of crashed.
Is she okay?
Yeah, she's fine.
How bad's the accident?
It's like minor, I feel like.
Can you come past? Can you bring it past here so I can check it out?
We can come right now.
Alright, bro, I'll see you soon. Bring the car with you, man.
No,
Damn.
she did it.
What was that? Dude reacted like the car owner is the teacher walking up to them looking for who to remove from the classroom. So, what a wimpy response. I mean, if my girl crashed a rental car, I'll be focused on what could we do to kind of get through this situation. I wouldn't be childishly outing her on video. It just makes him look like a child. And I mean, this is especially when you consider the proof he posted of crashing the car.
Oh my God! Christy!
Again, if you see that video, something's just extremely off here.
You okay?
I'm sorry. I can fix it. Is it that bad though?
I don't think it's that
I
bad.
thought it was only
He doesn't. They don't sound
You got like headlights are broken. You got rims.
shaken up enough. I don't know.
You got fans. You got.
How much does all that cost?
The bottom is dripping.
Jeez. That's probably just my water.
It's like the coolant and radiator and all that kind of stuff, bro. It's a big accident. To you, it might not look that bad, but once you take everything off.
Did I
it's
hold my
pretty bad,
breath?
man. Did you get a police report?
No.
We need that. As
Okay,
well,
there
to
we
get
go.
your insurance.
The airport right now.
I knew I was forgetting something.
Flight, bro.
Is there any way we can just handle this like after? Like I literally got a dip right now, but I promise you I'll handle it. Like I'll make sure everything is taken care of.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust
Woo,
that.
all right.
Dude's about to leave the country after doing that to your car. The flight should be rebooked until it's all sorted.
When they're gone, they.
You'll come find me in Miami if I don't pay you. I promise. Well, I will fix it. I will make sure she does. You know. But I will pay for it.
How did it happen?
It's not that bad. I crashed though.
She was driving. That's fine.
She on the contract? I'll check with the admin.
We gotta go to the airport though. I'm sorry. I will handle this. I'm sorry. Like you got my number right.
All right.
I'll figure this out.
Happen, accident. As long as you pay, bro, I have no issue.
I will. I'll pay for it all, and I'm sorry.
I'm not giving you another car. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't deserve another car. I'm never driving again. Well, I didn't drive. She did good too. I'm sorry. You're a legend. Very, very kind about the whole situation, you know. But I'm gonna fix it. I promise. I'm not just gonna run off.
I mean, just looking at the amount of cars they have in the
Okay,
operations,
okay.
this is probably just a routine thing that's sadly just a part of the business for them. So I'm unsure why he's doing this whole like fake video and blaming the girl for no reason. But what I did find interesting is there's a Miami-based car rental influencer by the name of Jaden Blue who called out Jack based on his behavior and past experience of renting cars to Jack. Because it turns out he's been renting these vehicles and acting like, I guess, they're a part of his personal collection. Often standing on the hoods, recklessly revving the engines while they're cold, and generally just treating them like disposable props for his sad attempt at flexing. And to be honest, I'm not even surprised because Jack seems like the type of person to flex a rented car. But according to Jaden, Jack's antics most likely have gotten him blacklisted from several luxury car companies. Imagine being so insufferable that even Miami luxury car rental companies, whose entire business revolves around dealing with some of the most insufferable and difficult customers in the world, want nothing to do with you. That really sets the bar for Jack.
Although he says he got into a minor accident and then pulls up with a car looking like that. He also takes no accountability, puts the entire blame on his girlfriend, and then says he has a flight to catch, but he's gonna take care of it. I'm sure he will. Jack's actually rented cars for me before, including this Ferrari F8 that he's currently standing on. He treated my cars like absolute.
Guys, just got a new Ferrari. Whoa.
And as if that wasn't enough, he then proceeds to redline the engine for a solid 5 seconds.
Sounds horrible. I don't know shit about cars.
Crazy how some people have no respect for other people's stuff. I guess that's what you get for renting supercars to a kid. I'd be surprised if anyone would ever rent him a supercar after this.
Yeah, I mean, that Ferrari clip was just painful to watch. So not only has Jack built his persona around obnoxious attention-seeking stunts, but he's now been exposed as lying about his own wealth and possessions. I feel like it's just like the ultimate humiliation for someone whose entire personality is wrapped up in flaunting money and cars that he doesn't even own. And what's wild is this isn't even speculation anymore. Jack has repeatedly denied renting cars like this despite overwhelming evidence.
Yeah, this one always
otherwise.
gets me.
But I guess the truth always finds a way to come out, especially when you're careless enough to live stream every embarrassing detail of your life. I guess all of this just comes back to the same pattern. Jack is desperately chasing validation through increasingly reckless and dishonest behavior. And as we've seen countless times, it's just a matter of time before all these lies and stunts completely backfire. At this point, Jack's entire career feels like watching a slow motion car crash. No pun intended. He's spiraling, losing credibility, and clearly has no idea how to dig himself out of a hole that he keeps deepening every day. I mean, at this point, he's now returning to this like fake vlog format that he was doing years ago. Like videos like, I just got back with my ex, and then using his ex's clickbait.
We have someone coming over today. Can you meet someone, one of my other girlfriends today?
I forgot to do the whole breath thing again.
Today it's gonna be a lot. Christy?
Hi.
But I guess this wasn't the popular ex, it was the previous ex. It's just obvious he's trying to rebuild his old business, so now I guess he's just bringing out a bunch of these girls that he's likely signed, and again, I guess he's just trying to make this like fake reality content to promote. And of course, he had to follow that video with, I moved my ex-girlfriend in with us.
You need to move your stuff out of that room so Grace can move in.
If I knew he was gonna act like this, I'm not gonna go to your brown house.
That's crazy. You don't watch it, first of all.
I'm scared.
No, I was a prank, bro. Why are you a pathetic? I'm a pathetic guy.
I mean,
All right.
the Kardashians
I
were that
feel like I'm
acting,
slowly
he's
getting
found
better.
a way to lower the bar. Using your romantic partner as essentially an asset seems pretty empty to me, but what do I know? And who am I to judge? Whatever floats their boat, I guess. But still, I believe there's something odd about that rental car crash that's going on because it just doesn't make sense. What is he trying to hide here? Because it's very clear from that video that things didn't happen the way he's trying to make them seem they happened. I'm still setting up my studio, so hopefully you guys make do with this temporary studio for a little while longer. And then one day, hopefully soon, I'll have the best studio I've ever had on this channel.
Because honestly, I feel like the last couple of days of me setting up this new studio has been summarized in the "Are you winning, son?" and then it's just like the pure scribble. That's how. But anyway,
Are you winning, son?
Feel free to subscribe. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video. So.
Are you winning, Dad? Son, pick up your stuff. I lost the house.
Peace.
Okay. I like that cutout explosion he does. Okay. Whew. Yeah. Woohoo!
Hello, you absolute.
That was a no-hit right there, right?
In June of 2022, a speedrunner by the name of Epic Sea Star did something incredible. He joined the jumping speedrunning community and proceeded to achieve world records on two of the most
Man, how do I even do that one?
popular and competitive custom maps, Babe of the Realms and Babe of Ascension. These world records were
Oh, this is about somebody who cheated a Jump King.
really good. In fact, one of them still remains the world record to this very day. Epic Sea Star got really good.
Not sure why the video is buffering though.
While it is unusual for a new player to attain world records so fast, he claims that he had been playing for a while, he just hadn't joined until then. Epic Sea Star's rate of progress was suspicious, but the proof that he provided for his runs was extremely thorough. He had the in-game timer showing, he had an input display, and he even had a webcam of himself playing. Cheating with a webcam is one of the rarest forms of cheating because what it means is that you have to sit there and pretend to play. You have to pretend that you're trying hard. You have to pretend that you're nervous. And then at the end, you have to pretend that you're so happy because you just did something amazing. You need to behave like you've just done something better than anyone else had ever done before. And in June of 2022, that's exactly what Epic Sea Star did. He created fake
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
speedruns and
As soon as he
then
goes down,
pretended
I'm just
to
gonna
play.
suicide.
And for the next 2 years,
She's my main
his fake world
damage
records
dealer.
went undetected. That is until September 2024, when
And
they were
I have no
discovered
way of bringing her
completely by
back.
accident. As we will see, Epic Sea Star went to a lot of effort to fake these records.
The only way to
It
like get
cost him
another
tons of
revivement
work.
is
But what's
use the
funny
gacha
is that
machine,
while
but
he spent so much time and effort making his runs look good, he neglected to do the most basic checks
I forgot
any
to hold the
cheater
breath
should
again.
do in this game. And some of these simple mistakes he made just boggle the mind with their stupidity. After the first discrepancy was found, it was an avalanche. As it turns out, there are so many things wrong with these fakes, it is simply amazing. So sit back and relax as we dissect some of the greatest fake speedruns I've ever seen. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, this video is sponsored by the military online game War Thunder. And when it comes to vehicle combat, War Thunder is the most comprehensive game ever made. Take control of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters and ships from 10 of the fiercest armies of the last century. See technology advanced from the 1920s all the way through to these super high-tech weapons of destruction we see today. Each vehicle is finely crafted to be as realistic as possible, and when you combine that with incredible graphics and authentic sound effects, you get one of the most immersive combat experiences you'll ever find. The vehicle damage model, returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive "This is unchanging and cannot be manipulated in any way." This means that in theory, the final time at the end of the run must also be divided. That includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle.
Did I pause it?
It's available for a limited time only, so be quick. One of the foundational mechanics of Jump King is the fact that each frame lasts exactly 17 milliseconds. This is unchanging and cannot be manipulated in any way. This means that in theory, the final time at the end of the run must also be divisible by 17 milliseconds. It just can't give you a time that isn't. And what's interesting is that this mechanic was never really used in the past to possibly detect a time that shouldn't be possible. So a couple of weeks ago, one of the moderators, known as Rifle, created a script that checked every single time submitted to the speedrun.com leaderboards to see if any impossible times were posted. Of the more than 5,000 speedruns submitted, around 60 had times that were invalid. Most of these impossible times were simply typos. For example, in this run, you can see that the time on the ranks ends in 928, but on the end screen of the run itself, it ends in 678. So this is just an input error. Other runs didn't have any videos at all to check, but again, they are likely typos. However, there was one run that came back that actually did show an end screen that had an impossible time. This was the world record for the custom map, Babe of the Realms, achieved on June 4, 2022 by Epic Sea Star. What's funny is that Rifle immediately thought this run was still probably legitimate because, as he said, it had facecam, mic, and keyboard inputs. It is very, very rare to see someone try and fake a speedrun like this. But boy oh boy, no one could have predicted just how deep this rabbit hole was about to go. So Several hours after this invalid end screen time was brought up, it was identified the time on the end screen was also missing a digit. There is supposed to be a 0 here before the 7. It became apparent that this end screen was photoshopped, which also explains the invalid time. The next day, Rifle went through the entire run and counted the amount of jumps, because the jump count is displayed at the end. And what he found is that
I'm
the
gonna
jump
save
count
Scum
at the
again
end
because,
was off by 40 jumps. It stated
I want my money
43,
back.
but the run only had around 360. So what we
Because the
can
Gods
discern
machine
from
isn't
these
doing
errors
really shit
is that
to me
Epic
for
Seastar just
me to
guessed
help.
the amount of jumps, and he
It's
also
doing
just
shit to
guessed
help
the
me.
final time, not knowing that it's impossible to
Isn't doing.
produce. And then he quickly photoshopped the end screen and forgot to add a 0. This seems like a pretty low effort fake, right? I mean, obviously he didn't seem to care. This is where things get shocking.
Outside
Because
to
remember, the actual run itself,
Are we
the
allowed to
timer,
give tips?
the
I just
input
want to share some
display,
things I learned while fighting so that they
no
can
matter how
maybe
this
help.
was fake,
Well,
he
first
had
of
to
all,
put a
hello,
lot of effort into
as a
making all of
the
those
Koopa
things
Queen
seem
for
legit
showing
at
up,
first
and
glance.
secondly, yes, I
The
do
first
want
thing
tips,
I
honestly.
noticed about one of the
I mean, as
runs
long,
was
I mean,
that the
it's,
screen
I
seemed
haven't
to
seen,
shake
I mean, I've already
shakes.
completed
The
chapters
screen
1 through
shaking is a
3, so I
purely
don't think
aesthetic
you'll
effect.
be
It
able to
doesn't
spoil
change
me
the
on
gameplay,
anything.
and the
So if you have a
screen
tip,
screen
sure,
changes
just give it to
between
me.
1.5 to 3 seconds. But the main category world record holder Trim noticed that the screen shook for longer. In fact, in this section here, there were 2 shakes back to back that lasted 4 seconds.
Is the chat box working? I'm looking at the stream, it doesn't look like it is.
This is that there are splices in the gameplay. Splices are the most logical way to cheat this game if you're a terrible player. Take me for example.
Why isn't it working?
But if I use save states, I can use video editing to make
When
it
they're
seem
doing
like
the
I'm
knife
using
attack,
player.
all
The
the
method I would use
ones
is
on
to
the side, you
record
can just move up and
video
down to
takes a
avoid.
spot, then save the state, then
Wait,
repeat.
all the ones on the side, you can just move up and
When I
down.
land,
Well, yeah, I know that. The problem is that I'm not paying attention. Even the diagonal ones? Oh. I thought about you like using the D-pad so I don't end up moving diagonally, but I don't know. Yeah, why isn't the chat box working? That's weird.
Lacks the ability to string together longer jumping sequences. And in fact, I can tell that Epic Seastar is probably using save states for a massive percentage of these jumps. And I can tell that because he almost never buffers his jumps. When you watch top level players, they always hold the jump button before
crap.
they land. It could be several frames before or longer.
I'm gonna have
but
to
it's always
deal with that
before.
later.
This is so they start charging their next
Seriously,
jump
well, the
immediately
chat box
when
was
they
working
land.
fine yesterday.
Don't lose any unnecessary frames doing nothing. However, Epic Seastar doesn't do this. He almost always lands and then presses jump, usually framed perfectly after landing. This is because he doesn't want to start charging his jump right away because he wants to save his state first. Therefore, he won't hold jump before he lands. But when
Also, on that first attack with a ton of swords, I don't know if it'll work for you, but what helped me a lot was that I started looking ahead instead of where I was. Yeah, that's, I think that concept is called Eye of the Needle. I figured that would work, but for some reason it doesn't always work for me. Maybe I just get distracted and I end up looking where I am instead of where I wanted to go.
In order to fix this, I would have to make sure to extend the audio slightly after each splice from the first clip to include that sound effect.
Happens. Let me rematch the night.
And given this
Q
run
to
had
remember
so many
everything.
splices,
Okay.
that's a lot of work. And then we have to figure out the issue of the timer. If we are splicing, we can't use
me
a
unlock
real
the-
timer. That would make it super obvious. So therefore, the timer
Yeah,
in
it's
his
still
runs
there.
must be fake. But in
It's
this
still on top of
particular
everything.
game,
What's going
I
on
mean,
here?
his timer is literally perfect.
Oh, real
It's
quick. Okay.
indistinguishable from the real thing. The likely way he achieved this was by running the timer on a different map that has a black background, like this one here. Then chroma keying out of the black background using whatever video production software he was using.
Jeez, where I lose my train of thought way too often.
We can confirm the footage in the video has been edited. The player behind it detected even more splices using this method, and things like the shaking and the rain and wind patterns got me to look around for other things that might be affected because of a splice. And then I realized that during the same splice where the rain is messed up, the area name is displayed on screen. Whenever you enter a new area, the name fades in, stays up for a few seconds, and then fades out. It also produces a sound effect like this. So I realized that if there was a splice, the length of time the name remains on screen should be shortened. But when I went and timed how long they were on screen, it was perfect, and I timed all of them. They were all exactly the same length, which just can't be possible if there was a splice. Then I remembered how the timer is supposed to shake with the screen during shaking sections, and when I checked other runs, the area name also shook as well. But when I checked MXC Star's run, it was dead still, which can mean only one thing. This area name was added in post-production. Now this is much more sophisticated than just adding a timer, because the backgrounds aren't in solid color, they can't just chroma key them out easily, and they also fade in and out too, which would have to be done manually. Truth be told, I don't even know how to do this easily. I think this kind of thing can only be done with a fair amount of work. Aside from not shaking, you can also tell the fade in and fade out have been manually recreated because the opacity of the text is much different than it should be. So what he must have done is wait till the start of each new area for the title to come and go, and then remove that footage. Then in post-production, added the title back in along with the sound effect that comes with it. There are a couple of things that make this pretty insane. First, it means that he couldn't even go these several seconds this title remains on screen without splicing. Otherwise, he would just play through it and not go to all of this effort to recreate them. So we are definitely dealing with a terrible player. And secondly, and this one is hilarious, in the version of the game he was playing, he could have just turned the area names off. In fact, there are other speedruns on the ranks where players have done this, so he did all of this work for nothing. In any case, he put in a lot of effort, and the effort doesn't stop here, because given the fact that we know he isn't really playing, what about all of his keyboard sounds? Is he just hitting keys pretending to play? Well, the clue lies in several oddities at the end of his runs. During his Battle of the Realms run, there is a loud buzzing that's coming from his audio track, but about 5 seconds before the video ends, this buzzing completely stops, even though his microphone is clearly still working and is just as loud.
The URL's insane.
This means there was definitely a second audio track playing throughout the video. On his Babe of Ascension run, after he stopped playing, he put his hands on his face, but you can clearly hear distinct clicks from his mouse.
Oh my god.
So this is just another silly little mistake he didn't consider. Now let's get to the best part, his fake reactions. Whenever you have a fake speedrun with a live reaction, you know you're in for a treat. And I have to be honest, I'm impressed. This is, dare I say it, an Oscar-worthy performance.
That doesn't work.
His second
I
reaction
didn't do that.
is even better, but I must warn you, if you're in public, do not play this out loud.
Okay, now that my memory is refreshed, as you probably noticed, Ralsei does more damage than Chris here. So if you need to heal, do it with Chris. He also doesn't get swooned, fainted if he goes down. Yeah, I noticed that. He doesn't go all the way down to 999. Even if he doesn't have the Shadow Mantle on him.
He uploads his run and forgets to put a 0 in front of his time. And he doesn't even bother counting the jumps or making sure the end time
I wish I could show
impossible,
like
which is
OBS's
how
like
this was discovered
chat
in the
thing,
first
but
place.
like
This is dumb.
because I have
This
like
is really,
block
really
OBS on, I
dumb.
can't
At the
actually
same
do
time,
that.
Epic C-Star might be a genius. Is this just high IQ performance art? I have no idea what this is supposed to be, but either way, it's amazing. This is simultaneously the
I actually
best
did not
and
know the
most
Shadow
speedrun
Mantle
I've
stopped
ever
that too. I
seen.
wish I
This
caught
may
that.
even top Butterbun, and if Epic C-Star took a single bite or sip of anything, it wouldn't even be close. But I will let you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Shout out to War Thunder again for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check out War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation or Xbox, and use my link in the pinned comment or video description to register. Those of you who are new or haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across all platforms, including multiple premium vehicles, in-game currency, and more.
Senior settings, where is settings? Advanced. All the way bottom to sources. He's using an older version of OBS. I hope this still works. Enable browser source. Okay, it says to turn it off. The problem. Oh, Come on. This program must be restarted for these settings to take effect. Forget it then. I'll just worry about that next stream. Just be aware that the chat box isn't working because of that, apparently. Fixing chat boxes, like I was changing the size or something. I'll get right back to the game. I'm just trying to fix this. One about the fake Super Mario speedrun by Deltaune.
Much deeper than a normal spectator might. In Super Mario 64, multiple world record holders have been caught splicing runs using audio analysis combined with a healthy knowledge of leading to machine and card output. But these runs are under the radar for years because the discrepancies is so slight that to any normal viewer, it looks exactly the same as any other run. The fact that better players make better cheaters means that our chat box, I mean like the size of it.
It looks fine. Alright. Okay, turn on lock it. There we go. Remember the chat box still isn't working, so I'm gonna have to just read it off, or I guess you can follow the live chat.
If you don't play the game, you're probably going to have to steal the footage from other players. Once you've done that, you'll have to combine them in a way that makes it seem unique, but then you're leaving yourself open to continuity errors. As a speedrunner, I know.
Well, no, the shadow mantle doesn't actually, you know, stop the swooning thing. It just increases your defense against the damage itself. But if you're knocked down to 0, you're still sent to 999 health.
Example of this very thing, and it's one of the worst abominations of a faked speedrun I've ever seen. Now, generally,
okay, got my money back.
Trying to look cool by editing
I think I can use my remaining points for one last thing though. One last pull of the gotcha ball machine.
And the video in question has millions of views. The video contains every sin under the sun.
I have my channel mentor cooked to Susie, by the way. I heard she has like she benefits from it the most apparently.
Today, we will break it apart.
Oh, I got a fortune.
The video in question comes from the Mexican channel Deltaune. It is one of the largest channels on YouTube with over 42 million subscribers.
Oh, I see. That's fair enough then. Yeah.
They specialize in the creation of original and viral content. Keep the word original in mind throughout this video. On the 17th of December 2017, they uploaded a video titled
I didn't watch this video. Maybe I can change it to something else.
Which translates to passing Super Mario in 5 minutes. The description states, join us to see how our friend Tavo Betancourt
What's going on here? I'm in a kayak in the middle of nowhere. I'd rather be at home.
I'm in a kayak. I'm in the middle of nowhere. This has taken me.
Sitting inside of a dark space.
Did he freeze to death?
Mountaineer and Andrew's mountain climbing career is in pretty harsh hints of what he can do. He attempted to kayak across the Tasman Sea, which is around 1,600 kilometers or 1,000 miles from Australia to New Zealand. And shockingly, most of this 1,000-mile journey actually went quite well. However, within the last 30 miles, Andrew did not end up showing up to New Zealand where he was supposed to land, and instead his kayak was found 30 miles off the coast with with him nowhere in sight. To this day, nobody has found Andrew or officially knows what happened to him. However, I will say one veteran sailor that's very familiar with the waters around New Zealand said the area Andrew was in was prone to rogue waves. So potentially he got hit by a rogue wave, taken out of his kayak, and you know what happens after that. In any event, these are the risks and things that can happen when you decide to do extreme sports like this. So keep that in mind if this is something
that is sad.
doing in the future. As always, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Drop a comment letting me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you.
Okay. Curiosity sated for now. What should I watch? Eternal downfall. Like he just keeps falling down. Dark Side Phil. I still can't believe that one episode of SpongeBob got banned. The one with the panty raid. So many years later, too. VHR Predator claims Disorder made her do it. Of course. Games that aren't games. Okay. Subscriptions. How can you do this? Oh man. Did you get to that part of Clear Obscure? Why a single difficulty is so important in games like Life of Pi? Oh god. Lies of Pi. Briefly Default. I remember playing that. Man, I don't think I'll ever play it again, honestly. Not that I didn't, it's not that I hated it, it's just that, I don't know, some games have plots that, like, I tend to overthink for some reason. And then I end up getting upset because I can't figure out anything. This is strictly a me thing. I'm not blaming the game for it. I'm just, I think my media literacy needs some improvement. Alright. Oh yeah, the Silent Hill remake. Apparently the one by Bloober Team that everyone was expecting to be bad because, you know, it's Bloober Team that they remade Silent Hill 2. Apparently they did a pretty good job. I'm glad to hear it, honestly. This Star looks familiar. Eden Zero. The title sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar any. I'm not sure what's going on here though. Let's see, what can I watch? I kind of feel like I want to watch a video essay, but like I don't know what to watch actually. Let's see if Jay Aubrey has something I want to watch. Dysfunctional Family on YouTube. I thought that was Ace Passengers. Whatever. I'm morbidly curious enough to see what's going on here.
So as many of you guys have noticed.
All right, I cannot think of any more tips, but I need to go. Good luck on beating the night when you continue trying. All right, thank you. I was just about to get back to trying to beat him anyway, but you know, see you later.
No, this isn't safe.
It's clear that she did something.
I'm beginning to notice why this relationship fell apart.
This okay baby here in the Oscar story is about to blow wide open.
YouTube Family Channel. One of the most followed genres on all of YouTube. One that has spawned so much controversy that it deserves its own YouTube rewind from hell.
After multiple assessments, after multiple evaluations, numerous medical professionals have felt that he needed a different fit in his medical needs. He needed more.
anymore.
Throughout their content, we've been enlightened by the bad,
You're insane!
the ugly,
This documentary by no means is trying to illegalize abortion. After this documentary, you're still gonna have the choice.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have your choice.
and the downright criminal.
We are learning more about the Utah YouTube star and her business partner, who were both arrested Wednesday after reports of severe child abuse.
But what happens when Family Channel's demise isn't through the result of lawless behavior or some social media campaign, but just through toxic human nature? Could that be the ultimate indictment against Family Channel?
You know, we've been best friends for so long, and I would say we genuinely have stayed best friends the whole time. And it got to a point in my mind where I felt like, are we just best friends?
Today, we find out. I don't have to tell you that I've covered many Family Channels in my time. In fact, some of you may be asking, Jonathan, J. Aubrey Studios, why are you so intrigued by the subject of Family Channel? And the truth is, folks, I just can't get enough of them. They've provided such an invaluable contribution to today's culture. I just love them. I'm sorry, I can't keep up this bit. Family Channels suck.
What's good, Biz Fam? Welcome back to Family Biz. So you guys voted.
I'm not sure what the point of those bait and switches are.
I won't sugarcoat. Family Channels have a disproportionately bad record broadcasting their degeneracy to the public, which is especially atrocious when you consider that oftentimes those victims of this abuse are too young to even agree to being filmed. Not to mention that these channels are so invasive that they thrive on the audience having an intimate perception of them, which is particularly upsetting when you find out that they've been lying to you and everyone else with a false perception of how they actually are. It's very difficult to separate the art from the artist, or in the case of Family Channels, the shit from the shovel. The one concession I will allow,
The shit from the shovel?
People I've covered in the past were probably already pretty bad people to begin with. If I entirely assign the blame to the genre for their behavior, then I'm absolving those of the responsibility that they deserve to shoulder. I'm sure people who defend
There we go.
the genre of Family Channels will point at those who have not suffered from scandals as examples of successful projects, and that they do offer some value to society and people looking to start their own family. But is there any way we can put this issue to bed once and for all? Well, today, I think I found just that.
First comment of today is
Is he acknowledging that there are some family channels that are actually like well-functioning families without any abuse or I don't know. I think the music cranked up for Deltaune again.
Today, we find out. I don't have to tell you that I've covered many Family Channels in my
Oh great, I gotta hear that stupid bait and switch bit again. I never understood those little, I'm definitely gonna say this when it's obvious that
they've provided such an invaluable contribution.
Yeah, but when you said I just can't get enough of them, well, I thought you were just gonna mention how you can't stop like dunking on them. I'm not even defending Family Channels. I just don't like the whole bait. Like, oh, I love them so much. Actually, no, I can't keep up with this bit. I actually hate them. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I don't even hate Jai Aubrey. I'm just saying I don't like these sort of jokes.
What's good, Biz Fam? Welcome back to Family Biz. So you guys voted. Mia agreed, and she is going to be pregnant for today.
I won't sugarcoat. Family Channels have a disproportionately bad record broadcasting their degeneracy to the public, which is especially atrocious when you consider that oftentimes the victims of this abuse are too young to even agree to being filmed. Not to mention that these channels are so invasive that they thrive on the audience having an intimate perception of them, which is particularly upsetting when you find out that they've been lying to you and everyone else with a false perception of how they actually are. It's very difficult to separate the art from the artist, or in the case of Family Channels, the shit from the shovel. The one concession I will
The shit from the
allow, though,
shoveler,
is that
okay.
many of the people I've covered in the past were probably already pretty bad people to begin with. If I entirely assign the blame to the genre for their behavior, then I'm absolving those of the responsibility that they deserve to shoulder. I'm sure people who defend the genre of Family Channels will point at those who have not suffered from scandals as examples of successful projects, and that they do offer some value to society and people looking to start their own family. But is there any way we can put this issue to bed once and for all? Well, today, I think I found just that.
First comment of today is by It's Your Boy Lucky.
This is OK Baby, a family channel originally from, say it with me now, Utah, which is already a bad omen. This was a family
What?
headed by Oscar and Kira.
I thought the stereotypically bad state was Ohio.
Child at the age of 18. The channel was set up in 2015 and didn't
Or Alabama, I don't know.
premise of many family channels.
I don't think Utah and think, oh my god.
Was already chosen. In the early days of OK Baby, they actually didn't have a family. It would have been a stretch to call them the family channel at that stage, while they were more focused on the stages of pregnancy and the pressure of dealing with this as teenagers, as people who were probably young enough to be other family vloggers' children.
I don't like changing a diaper. I'm a spoiled 19-year-old. I'm not supposed to be changing baby's diaper.
But their channel picked up in popularity rather quickly, accelerated by the viral video Emotional Emergency C-Section, a birth vlog, which, unlike much of their future content, wasn't clickbait.
We're having emergency C-section and Kira's having contractions. You think the baby by Kira? Yeah, you are. Bye. Thanks. She has a bunch of IVs and stuff.
But obviously, parenting isn't just about being pregnant, and although those were the most popular videos, Kira and Oscar also posted content about their own lives, which told us more about the people behind and in front of the camera. Oscar worked in a factory, and Kira had just wrapped up high school. They didn't have too much to support each other, and the channel would work as a way to tell their story, which it did, and many people tuned in to hear that.
Okay.
It's easy to see why this began to take off. Teen parenting stories have always been popular on TV, and YouTube's narratives were growing parallel enough between the two mediums that
too
people began
close.
to take an interest in similar things online. Now, I've always found the TV teen mom stuff kind of exploitative, given that a lot of the income from other people's stories typically go on to line the pockets of faceless TV executives who didn't really earn it. But if people have the opportunity to tell their own stories, I don't think that's a bad thing, especially if it helps them with raising those children in a way that our society often doesn't. After documenting their first pregnancy, Kira and Oscar would go on to document their second and third in quick succession, and also release what I would brand a milestone video.
Shit.
Videos basically showing the first time a child does something. They're really popular in the community and an easy way to generate views. So you would have first words, first steps, first vaccines. Although they were a largely uncontroversial channel in the heyday of family content, one criticism leveled against them was the fact that Kira and Oscar seemed to have a habit of exploiting accidents that involved their children in the title and thumbnail of their videos. This isn't the only time we've seen this happen, and a lot of the time in OK Baby's case, it was just clickbait and wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. It still left a few people feeling rightfully uncomfortable, given that there's something even more vulnerable than usual about a toddler who's injured or sick or whatever else. It underlined the reservation critics have always had with family channels, that they were often too invasive. But then again, if people watched it, the uploads would persist. It's true that these videos, alongside their milestone content, pregnancy coverage, gender reveals, and the rest, were what drew people to the channel over the years. And from 2015 to 2019, OK Baby grew from 0 to a very respectable 1.5 million subscribers. But the winds of change
Ear
blew
hurts.
hard.
I'm wearing glasses, so like having like these my headphones in like pinches my ears against the earphones headphones, and it hurts my ears.
Gentlemen, like the one for this video, Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service on a mission enough to maintain.
The only thing fragrance related I'm sort of interested in is scented candles. I love scented candles.
That's Jobbery 2 for 55% off. Huge thanks again to the wonderful people over at Scentbird for sponsoring this video. So that's one way to do it, but Kira had another idea to generate some extra income. She started up a podcast called Beneath the Sheets with her longtime friend Hannah, later bringing along Oscar and Hannah's husband Preston.
To me, when I think of like slut, I think like that is what I.
Yes.
To me, that is somebody who deserves all the slut shaming.
Yeah, if somebody's happy, don't interrupt that.
Even not happy. Like if they're not happy in a relationship, that is not your job, Miss Sophie, to swoop in and try to like the guy till he figures it out.
Alright.
Drew enough of an audience to keep the podcast going through 2021. Though they didn't pull the views they once did, it was still enough to maintain a channel and their livelihood as they continued to cruise through life without drawing too much attention from any side of the aisle. In spite of this, though, they weren't unaware of the increasingly prevalent ethical debate surrounding family vloggers and even decided to add their hot, or as I'd say, bad take to it.
There has been times where kids haven't enjoyed it, and we've been open about that with you guys. That's
I can barely hear the video. I think I need to lower the game.
Where there's certain times where we don't include some of the kids in their videos, and that's usually the times that they don't even really say they don't want to be, but we encourage that. When it comes to like, you know,
Yeah, I'm gonna take this moment to save Scum again.
doesn't want to be filmed. And again, it's not even a verbal thing. We can feel.
I mean, I'm glad you respect your child's wishes when they're cognizant enough to make them, but I really struggle a toddler is gonna be able to ask their mother to turn the camera off when they're potty training and watching a
Literally making memories.
But still, this is more than most channels would say.
Wow, that
And
shows you
as
how loud this
mentioned,
game
they
is.
have their defenders who present thanks to Scentbird, it's easy to express your own personality and style without having to break.
Shaming in the world.
Yeah, if somebody's happy, don't interrupt that. For
Even-
your
I
own
wish I could get. I wish I still had revivements from the Tenna fight.
That is not your job, Miss Sophie, to swoop in and try to like the guy till he
Still.
figures it out.
We'll get back to some of these names later, trust me. But ultimately, this was
Apparently,
a
the
way
only
to
other way to get
capitalize
revivements
on
is to go to the
topics
gacha ball
and
machine,
drew
but
enough of an
I can't seem to
audience
get the
keep
revivements
podcasts
from
going
there.
through
It's not
2021.
like I have enough money
Though they
to
didn't pull the views they once did,
exchange
it
for
was
points
still
to
enough
keep
maintain
pulling
a
from it there.
channel and their livelihood as they continue to cruise through life without drawing too much attention from any sides of the aisle. In spite of this, though, they weren't unaware of the increasingly prevalent ethical debate surrounding family vloggers and even decided to add their hot, or as I'd say, bad take to it.
There has been times where kids haven't enjoyed it, and we've been open about that with you guys. That's typically when we don't upload as much, or there's certain times where we don't include some of the kids in the videos, and that's usually the times that they don't even verbally say they don't want to be, but we can kind of just tell. When it comes to like, you know, your family or my family, we never record somebody who doesn't want to be filmed. And again, it's not even a verbal thing. We can feel.
I mean, I'm glad you respect your child's wishes when they're cognizant enough to make them, but I really struggle to work out how a toddler is gonna be able to ask their mother to turn the camera off when they're potty training and watching Bluey.
When we film, it's literally making memories.
But still, this is more than most channels would say, and as mentioned, they had their defenders who perceived them as making the best of a difficult situation. I guess what made their content appealing in its perceived authenticity was the fact that they had set the channel up on the notion that they actually didn't have any children at the time. That YouTube was something they were doing to support their lives and create a future, and that seemed at least reasonably noble on the surface. With that said, given the frequency they were having children and the relationship it had with channel views, one must raise the question as to the intent behind these decisions. At the end of the day, was this a couple genuinely committed to each other? Well, at the end of 2018, Oscar finally decided to take the leap and propose to his soon-to-be fiancée, and she excitedly said yes, cementing that commitment. It showed that this was more than just a business venture to them, that this was a shared journey they took to improve the lives of their family. These were two people dedicated to putting that family over anything and anyone else, or so we thought. Outside of the criticisms and background that I've already brought up, the truth is that the story of OK Baby throughout most of its lifespan just isn't that interesting. And that's fine. I would actually say it's probably a good thing for a family channel to be a little boring. We have to be honest and say that domestic affairs probably shouldn't be riddled with drama, and the family channels that are controversial are regularly called out for good reason. Although there may have been difficulties within the couple's lives and situations that I may not be aware of, there's not really much worth talking about here because nobody else really cared for it either, at least not enough to archive it. I think the only question that fans were really asking was, when are these two going to finally tie the knot? And at the start of 2022, we received a definitive answer.
Whoa, big thanks for all you do. Happy Father's Day, teeny sissy. Thanks for being the best
That's his baby daddy.
Oh, baby daddy. And I love my daddy Levi. Aw, thanks, guys.
If you were to place bets on the next Family Channel to meet its demise in the new year, you probably wouldn't have wagered on OK Baby. Not at least without high odds. Although they had been gone for a while without any uploads, it would have been reasonable to suggest that they were merely taking a break over the festive season. But on January 7th, fans noticed a peculiar new upload on the channel titled very plainly, "We Broke Up." And you better believe this one wasn't clickbait.
I get overwhelmed so easily. My anxiety creeps inside of me.
It's not out of the ordinary for YouTube couples to break up, and it's far from the first time that a joint video has been made on the matter. Most of the time, these videos are met with sympathy from viewers who can understand that it's a difficult situation to navigate as romantic partners and content creators. There was no reason for a couple like Oscar and Kira to be any different, and yet, from the very start, something just seemed off.
Are you gonna cry?
No.
I might. I'm just kidding.
What the f?
It's hard to get on camera and act like nothing is going on in the back. But at the same time, it's also hard to get on camera and say anything because what if we end up being fine and then like we just shared all that and then it just seems rocky and trashy. So it's just hard to know in that situation from a content point of view what to do. And so we made the decision just to kind of not do anything.
I think most people could agree that breaking up is a hard thing to do, right? Especially for a couple that had been broadcasting their relationship to the world for years. It's normal for this to be a lot to process. But although Oscar seems appropriately forlorn, Kira seems strangely upbeat, even delighted.
A lot of you guys did notice he was vlogging and I wasn't. At that time though, I was really sick. Yeah. And it wasn't really that bad between us at that point. When you were just vlogging.
I was going through it at that point. Like I saw it coming early because I just saw the switch. So for me, I was going through it, but I was still in the denial phase. Like, no, this can't be happening.
And look, we all process grief differently, and how we may express our emotions may not reflect our true feelings. I get that. But at the same time, this seems like a pretty inappropriate and disrespectful
of course,
way
Susie
to
goes
go
down
about
this time.
making such a video, especially when your partner is right there sitting next to you, clearly not taking things well. In fact, Oscar wastes no time dropping some pretty pointed comments that refer to Kira's nonchalance, which Kira doesn't even bother challenging.
So yeah, Kira broke up with me.
It becomes very apparent that this isn't just as mutual as the title implies, which Kira takes in stride with a beaming grin and a helping of passive aggressiveness.
So
Does it make you feel better to say it like that? Do you feel better because it's not you?
Yeah, because I tried my ass off to.
Look at that. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put away the things I don't actually need. I'm considering going back to the gotcha machine, but I don't know if I should. Would it even be worth it? Ugh. At least this is guaranteed to get the deluxe.
only 2.5 minutes in, by the way. Kira then talks about how it all progressed, and then the topic of cheating comes up. And again, we're treated to the most unfathomably awkward interaction where Kira, for some reason, asks Oscar to confirm that she didn't cheat, to which he gives a very evasive answer, much to Kira's chagrin.
And nothing happened that's like crazy and dramatic. Nobody like cheated. Nobody like.
Feelings
Suspiciously
were hurt.
specific
These are
denial.
my feelings, but I found out later on, like a month later, that it's because you were holding these feelings inside and kind of resenting me.
But can you please clarify that I wasn't cheating?
Yeah, you weren't cheating.
Like,
You weren't
people will dig
cheating.
into
You did a lot of things that bothered me. I wouldn't consider them full-blown cheating, but it was definitely lines.
Oscar, no, you made
Alright, fine, fine.
Already, it's looking a little bad. But then Kira starts attacking Oscar for not being there when she had mental issues as a way to show that these subjects shouldn't be brought up.
Think about that situation bothered me.
It's not that situation. I just feel like when
Was she abusing him?
start naming like specific things, like do we want to talk about when I had mental health issues? You were not there for me. Like we don't need to like dig into.
This feels a lot like emotional manipulation and gaslighting.
It's sad that it took this, but I wish I was there for you back then. I didn't know that. I didn't understand these things. Like I feel like I'm understanding them now, going through my own like sadness and heartbreak. You know.
I'm sorry, but first of all, you can't just bring something up to try and make a point about not bringing something up, especially not after you yourself brought up the subject of cheating. Oscar has actually, at this point, not brought up anything. He just isn't playing this game the way you apparently wanted to, which is frankly kind of disturbing. Not to mention that Oscar has an excellent response that shows he's clearly understood his responsibility.
This is where, for me, I knew that it wasn't something I wanted to like hold on to anymore. I knew when I, in my head, was thinking of Oscar being happy with somebody else, and that made me happier. That's when I knew I didn't want to be happy. When I think of you with somebody else, and that's what I want for you, I don't think you're enough for that person. I can't meet your adrenaline standards. I don't like the things that you like. I don't want the same things that you want. I'm not interested in the same things that you are. And I want you to have that. So why am I like selfishly hanging on?
Kira Severston, everyone, the most selfless content creator on the platform. Yeah, you see, Oscar, she broke up with you because she really wants you to be happy with someone else. Kira just happens to suffer from a serious degree of empathy. How was this video uploaded to YouTube? How is this real? How is the internet free? But now we're approaching the 5-minute mark. No matter who you may be suspecting is at fault here, the main issue is that Kira and Oscar are clearly at very different stages of the breakup. This isn't uncommon, and it can happen when the person initiating the breakup comes to terms with their feelings before the other person has even clocked what's going on. This is obvious in how each person is approaching the situation, but also with the revelation that Kira had been unnecessarily cruel in the month leading up to the breakup.
So what triggered you to be so mean though this last month?
Subconsciously, I really was like self-sabotaging almost, or like trying to get you to break up with me, so it wasn't me. I don't even know. But like I was mean because I was just angry. I also felt like I was lying to you, and that's not my personality. Like as soon as I decide something, you know that. Like I want to say it, I want to tell you. I can't just like keep it in my head.
This is typically a technique utilized by people who don't know how to communicate their unhappiness, even sometimes with the intent to goad the other person into breaking up with them, something that Kira herself alludes to. It shows that Kira had gone through the process of attachment, and her treatment of Oscar was a byproduct of it. Oscar's lack of preparation is something that still seems very raw in this video, with him visibly processing his feelings while Kira addresses the audience.
For me, it felt like forever, because this has been happening since like late November. So for me, it's felt like forever, but in the grand scheme of things, it's all happening fast. And it's kind of crazy, like...
I think a little bit this is where we differ. In my mind, things have been happening for like a year.
Really?
It seems obvious that Oscar was blindsided by the news that Kira was no longer in love with him. He's still going through it, and he doesn't seem entirely comfortable talking about this matter on camera. It also means he's ambiguous with how he feels. Kira takes advantage of this to impose her own reading of the situation, which Oscar disagrees with, and most of the video is him sitting in his own silence, while Kira continues to take shots at his behavior, something that she insists she doesn't want to do.
That is when I was like, oh, I hate
Yeah, I don't want to do this. I'm just saying.
And like slowly over time, like we just aren't
She keeps talking and saying these things that Oscar is still processing. She's clearly come into this video with an idea of what she's gonna say, something that she openly admits.
It's so hard because making this video, I want to sit here and just tell you guys, this is what's happening. I'm sad. I know you guys are gonna be sad. I'm sorry that we haven't made a video about it for a minute. But also, all that's in the back of my mind is how will people take what I just said? How are people gonna take what you just said? And that's so frustrating because I feel like I really want to make this video.
Yeah, and it makes it sound like we're fighting all the time, which, to be honest.
We don't, yeah.
But my advice would be, don't upload a video talking about something if you can't convey your feelings honestly. Simple as that. When Oscar pipes up, he does affirm that there hasn't been cheating or any external involvement in the breakup, which might provide some reassurance.
Long story short, I do feel like we're in a really good place right now. We're still trying, I mean, this is like,
We're figuring it out, yeah.
we have a whole life together. We've been together for 7 years. It takes a minute to like know.
What we're gonna do and stuff. I hope, I think, as long as we keep doing what we're doing, she's been extremely respectful of the breakup process. Nobody else, like I said, she said, no one else has been involved. There was no cheating, no nothing. Currently, no one's dating, nothing. Like, we're all just, we're both, I mean, just trying to, like, figure it out and be as respectful as possible. And I think that's gonna help keep our friendship.
But I don't feel reassured. Oscar's behavior aside, Kira seems to have come into this video with an agenda and being able to control what her audience thinks of her, which is very apparently contrasted with the raw feelings of someone like Oscar. It all feels very prepared and almost an overcorrection to what the truth might be. If nobody cheated, then why would you bring up the notion that you didn't cheat? I mean, sure, people gossip, but bringing it up unprompted like this is only gonna Streisand it. She continues to microanalyze every
Yeah, that's
reaction that
suspiciously
Oscar gives,
specific
which might
denial.
contradict her narrative, and to even
Nobody brings it up, but you say it anyway.
I know we will be the best friends that we can be through this, but between us, I also would like to keep things as like positive. Why did you look like that?
No, I'm just thinking.
He's just clearly not there, and it does beg the question, why on earth would anyone want to release a video talking about this? Well, the answer might be right in front of us.
We're still going to be like vlogging and uploading on this channel together. We still are going to live in this new house. We still are sharing finances. Like,
we do taxes together. We're gonna keep our money together. We do taxes and figure out like, all right, what direction we go from there.
we're just like not rushing anything.
The pursuit of content. Ladies and gentlemen, I think most people needing time to process a breakup would want time away from the camera. But why should OK Baby's momentum be slowed by such an inconvenience?
Things might even seem kind of normal for a while. I don't know. Maybe we'll be vlogging separately.
Oscar is sleeping in another room.
Yeah, that's interesting. But we just got back from vacation, so it's actually not that bad. It just feels like, all right, continue the vacation. But, yeah, that's what's
Last
been
night was
going
our
on.
first night in the new room.
Downstairs. No, I don't know. Like I said, I've been waking up in new places the last, like, what has it been, 3-4 weeks?
I really don't want that to be the reason this video is uploaded, but I struggle to think of another more believable alternative. Oscar was very much not prepared for
That
this
advice seems to be
video.
helping,
Kira
though.
was seemingly too prepared for this video. And while they seem to be working hard to create a functional video in any way they can, it's just not happening. And
Yeah,
when
that thing is
becomes
the run
an issue,
killer
when
for
they
me.
started disputing facts and taking veiled shots at each other, they should have just taken a step back and turned the camera off. Your audience is not entitled to any of this information, and it shouldn't have been addressed until you felt comfortable sharing. The only reason you jump the gun on uploading something like this is so you can return to uploading content as a whole. And although they may have gone through what is clearly a bitter breakup, they state that they do intend to continue living and working together.
So Oscar went to the strip club, didn't get a lap dance, stupid. Didn't Venmo me just as much money as the stripper, stupid.
I barely threw anything, but
Stupid counter.
Tell them you barely didn't and how much it was.
Okay.
You sound like an idiot. Tell them.
I was trying to underplay.
Yeah.
What was it? Was
Yeah.
This is stupid. You're stupid.
What kind of money are you making? Not any because you're not.
Don't be stupid, stupid.
Hey, I just found out I was single. Okay, I wanted to like follow.
You didn't even get a lap dance.
There's a story about how Oscar blew $200 at a strip club shortly after, but didn't even receive a lap dance. It's told as this hilarious little jig. but it feels much more depressing when you can tell that this was a guy coping with the fallout of his relationship and was trying to numb the pain. It starts to feel like a sort of sick humiliation ritual and seems completely tangential to the point that they were trying to make, with Oscar again disputing the narrative that Kira is trying to present.
Not that I was even trying to get at it, but she was telling me like, hey, I think you should sleep with someone. What? First of all, when you found out about that.
Like, I don't know, guys, I feel like they just need that. Like, Oscar and I haven't slept together in some time.
It's been a month, yeah.
Too much. It was like the beginning of November.
Anywho, and she was telling me to get with somebody. I was like, I wouldn't even know how to go about that, and she started giving me tips.
There's this attempt to present a facade that things are going to be business as usual from here on out, that these are two well-intentioned people going their separate ways, but everything revealed in the video, it sends a much different message, that these are two people deeply unhappy with each other on a personal level, not just in this relationship.
I think that's your new person's problem,
Yeah.
not mine. For real. But yeah, that's where we're at. Vlogs are probably gonna be, like I said, like
Maybe I could just use this time to practice, because I know I'm not going to win at this point.
Dude, we're just two friends living in the same house. What could go wrong? Right?
So you became basically just
They are setting
roommates.
themselves up to fail with this philosophy that they can just work through being separated in the same space. And this becomes especially apparent at the end of the video when they try to have some banter, and suddenly the topic of unfaithfulness comes up again, with Kira trying to preemptively explain herself.
The fact, hey, confidence, I love it. The fact that you think after everything you put me through, I would be like,
Me put you through? I've done nothing. Like, besides some attitude here and there. And comforting another guy because he was sad.
oh, there it is.
I didn't even do anything. This is comforting to Oscar.
Oh,
But what happened? I was talking to Hannah, and they were helping each other through
This is
emotional
so uncomfortable.
Considering where things were going, but I never was.
Oh, no, it's weird. I feel weird about it.
Never rubbed up on him.
I never rubbed up on
But like, why the hell would you say that? Why would you share that with the world? Like, I was genuinely about ready to close the video, but she just had to slip in one more detail, which is probably the most self-incriminating one of all. Oscar had already said you weren't cheating, so why give more details that sound like you were? I'm sure we've all comforted people before, but when the topic of cheating arose again, why did your mind wander to that scenario? What is the significance? Even if they were both desperate to return to uploading, they should have taken one look at this video and decided that they could at least try a second take. There is no way to properly summarize the insanity of what we just witnessed. It's one of those things that I just have to show you so you believe it, because if someone told me all of this content was put up on YouTube willingly by sentient human beings, I don't think I'd believe you. How they watched this thing back as seasoned YouTubers and decided that it would be well received is beyond me. And as soon as it went live, it was met with the confusion and concern that you would expect for such a painfully awkward upload, while also casting a lot of negative judgment towards Kira for her bizarrely rehearsed yet cagey performance.
Why say that to his face on camera for your audience? Like, why do that? You have sat this man down and are breaking up with him again and rubbing his nose in it like a dog who took a shit on the carpet. You're like, hey, don't do that again. You know, like making him smell it. What is the point?
Given how certain sensitive subjects were handled, people then also began asking questions about whether something in particular happened, specifically regarding Kira's faithfulness.
So, knowing the internet, she's like, people are going to read into that, as I just did, and they're going to think that I cheated, and so can you clarify that I did not cheat? And then he says, well, yeah, it wasn't full-blown cheating, which is, meaning it was half-blown cheating, which is still cheating. I mean, how do you, like, kind of cheat?
Turns out, Kira's claims and Oscar's protests weren't enough to put the rumors to bed. Now, knowing how the internet is, we don't want to entertain baseless conspiracy theories, but I really can't blame the internet for this one. Kira kind of set this up for herself. If nobody cheated, then the subject isn't relevant. And I do understand that women can be sometimes unfairly scapegoated when a relationship breaks down, but the best way to manage those idiots would be to address the claims if they ever were to come, not to write up a list of allegations that could be made and then address them in advance. Talking about such a specific claim and then going into detail about what may be used against you sounds very said and they were committed, then there would be nothing that anyone could say that would stop them. Ultimately, though, the onus would be on the couple at the heart of this matter to dispel such rumors and to demonstrate through their actions that they were capable of working through this difficult period together. And well, unfortunately, they didn't. There was one lingering question that seemed hard to answer at that moment. What would content from these two look like moving forward? How do you continue running a channel based around your family when your family is in the process of dealing with a separation? Business will never be usual, especially when someone new comes into a person's life, and living arrangements will have to be figured out. And in a way, to keep treating it like nothing's happening is almost worse, because it is happening, and acknowledging that is necessary.
And the first thing I want to say is that, you know, Oscar and I are in a very good place, and I don't want to speak for both of us. People get very mad that I speak for both of us. You need to speak for yourself. Oscar's just like that. Oscar, I'm not like trying to talk over him or say his feelings. Like, Oscar and I just express ourselves differently, and he's much more like this. He stares out the window and thinks while I talk.
Immediately diverting from this commitment, their next upload directly tackled the backlash head on, with Kira explaining that the way they handled this was just natural given their own personal style.
What was I gonna say? This is why I interrupt, because otherwise I lose what I was
Ah,
saying.
damn it, I was close, I think, that time.
Okay, so she's saying I interrupt because I lose what I'm going to say. That doesn't justify interrupting. It's more important you let someone say something. You know, it's a good sacrifice. If waiting for someone to fully complete their thought, especially if it's just one sentence, and you lose your train of thought, that's okay.
There are many criticisms of this video that can be made, that specific one coming from Dr. Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle. One of the subjects brought up here that wasn't referred to in the original upload was the subject of a vasectomy, something that Oscar received under the impression that he probably wouldn't need to have any more kids with Kira. People had picked this up after the first video with the implication that Kira had at least allowed Oscar to have a vasectomy when she was already in the process of leaving him. Kira seems annoyed by this assumption, and Oscar agrees that this was ultimately his decision, but also that he might have done things differently, knowing what he knows now. An important tidbit of information that we will return to later.
This one actually infuriates me. I never asked Oscar to get a vasectomy. I did not want him to get a vasectomy. I wanted more kids, and I highly encouraged he didn't get the vasectomy.
Thinking we were gonna be together forever. Not that I want any more kids or that I want other kids with other people right now. I think I made the right choice as of right now.
So what, you're still gonna be sleeping with her even after you're broken up?
Well, guess what? If you change your mind,
You can reverse it. Will I?
But I think if he was a little bit more disclosing right now, he would say, if I could take it back, I might actually. I still might get it in the future
All
at
right.
some point, but I don't know what the future holds. I might meet someone, and that person might really want to have a kid with me.
All
and
right.
convince me to have more kids. So it does kind of suck that I have a vasectomy.
This video is an improvement on the prior upload, and there is a lot of philosophical discussion about how they feel they may be finding themselves. However, Oscar chimes in at one point to ask a very appropriate question. Why did Kira feel the need to break up with him to achieve this? She gives this a pretty indirect response, which didn't do much to put people's minds at ease.
one of my biggest things is like being alone, and I think that's truly when you do find yourself is when you're put in these like critical life situations. And I feel like you said, I've been so comfortable with you that I'm not like I don't know anything outside of that, and I don't feel like I've like plateaued.
I think this sort of answer often yields
Woo,
more
okay.
questions. People often do need to find themselves, but if you need to untether yourself, why don't you just go on a trip or take a break? When you definitively decide to end a relationship, it feels a bit dishonest to just assume you're merely on a journey of self-discovery. It means you probably want something outside of the commitment you've made to this person. Maybe you want to be a little promiscuous or something. But although Kira still doesn't seem capable of being completely honest with her audience, and a lot of the most looming questions regarding infidelity aren't answered here, this was less uncomfortable than the previous upload, which wasn't a high bar to clear. They just needed to maintain this united front. Only it seems like Kira didn't receive the memo. And despite an negative reception from viewers, she continues presenting her own version of events like she was going to get married. Then, on January 12th, the first episode from the new season of their podcast, Beneath the Sheets, would be posted online. It features the all-star lineup of Oscar, Kira, Preston, and Hannah. It looks like it was recorded on the same day as the breakup. Given that Oscar and Kira appear to be wearing the same clothes, only adding credence to the "we need to upload at all costs" theory. In this episode, Kira is just over the moon that Oscar is now her ex, and continues to torment him in ways that I thought were prohibited by the 8th Amendment.
We're not feeling lonely. We have guests. We do have.
What is the 8th Amendment anyway?
We have the X. We have the
I know the preamble, but I don't know all the amendments. Except the second one, which is the, oh yeah, the first one and the second one. The right to bear arms and the freedom of speech.
And you'd think that given how poorly received the breakup video was, that they may have learned their lesson and tried to record this episode again. Kira is aware of where viewers stand on this. And to take a bit more time to actually create a video that doesn't make you want to gouge your own eyes out would have cost very little. But any lesson previously learned seems to have been flung out the window, as this recording shows us each podcast member is incapable of even stringing together a sentence at most times, like we do to the very fresh one.
Life happens, and now they are now exes.
Life happens.
Baby daddy and baby mom. Oh my. Honestly, that's okay that he says that. I think it makes me feel better, and I
There we go.
Kira. But yes, we did split up. Only in 6 months.
Now, if you don't know who that burly bearded man on the side is, that's Josh, the host of the Dad Challenge podcast on YouTube. Josh is a very vocal critic of family channels and made videos criticizing OK Baby before their breakup. His numerous videos covering their content after they announced their separation has helped preserve many of these videos, so you will see him reacting to much of the content we looked at. He also plays a part in this story as well, which will be revealed soon enough. But for this moment, he was merely highlighting, like many people, how strangely excited Kira seemed to be.
Okay.
Also, guys, don't act like you hate this so much.
I don't hate it.
He hates it.
With the upload in
Yeah,
between
yeah, he
the
hates it, he
breakup
does.
video and the podcast, we may have more perspective on
Don't act
where
like you
these
hate
two
it. I don't hate it.
actually stand.
He hates
But
it.
People aren't going to experience that. They're going to watch that video and think that there's maybe some sort of progress, and then watch the podcast episode and think, oh wait, never mind. It's also strange that Kira is more than happy to announce Oscar as her ex, so when pressed on why, she doesn't really want to answer. Compare this to her other 2 uploads.
I'm so glad I broke up with my ex. Okay, what happened?
She's filtering her feelings and thoughts very heavily, which is definitely not what you want for a podcast, which is meant to thrive on spontaneity.
We actually just uploaded our breakup video today, so it's.
Whoa.
Yes, we did. Alright, this is great. Well, it's just like, what the fuck is the next? What is this? What does this say next? We did drink of the week. So fun and awesome. We did really great.
It was another dose of
Oh,
very
okay, it was just
unsettling
Chris.
content, and is just as awkward, but now with 2 other people there to amplify the mood. It didn't instill confidence that this was going to work out, and on the channel, they didn't seem to be handling things any better.
Oscar came up to me and said, I got you your favorite. They love hot dogs. Look at that.
I mentioned that it was very hard to speculate over how their content would appear now that they weren't together anymore. They indicated that it would look the same, but even if
There we
discount
go.
all the uploads so far, the main channel was still harping on a lot of the subjects of a couple going through the pains of a breakup, including using these topics as clickbait. In one video, they opened Christmas presents, including one for friend and co-host Hannah and her husband Preston. It's a
Oh my god, okay, I finally threw that one
It's
attack
meant
that
to be
kept killing me.
funny, and that humor can be a way to deal with challenging times.
Okay, now for
but
the
to me,
next part.
It just doesn't feel right to be watching this. The main issue, though, is that when you do try to act like a normal family, it comes across even more awkward. You're watching parents trying to put on a facade of strength for their family, but as a viewer, you're already deeply aware
Oh, come
of
on.
the cracks
At least
in
Chris is the one that keeps going down.
Contrast that knowledge to the naivete of their children, and it feels even more awkward that you're aware of all that simmering anguish underneath.
I've never seen that version of it before.
Like you're watching something that isn't meant to be watched. It doesn't feel like this everything normal's approach is working. However you want to look at it, it's denial or it's uncomfortably real. But to many, it just didn't feel like this was working.
Whatever's causing you so much pain will
I gotta
eventually
mute for a little
make
bit.
you
My sister's
better,
coming home.
stronger human being. Trust me, I've been there.
In February, this was confirmed when they uploaded another update video, informing viewers that despite their initial agreement to live together, Kira had decided to move out. Though it seems this has been a one-sided decision, with Oscar explaining his frustration.
I think for the relationship or whatever, Kira thinks it's best for her to move out. Which I can't disagree. I mean, it was a little shocking at first because I was like, so what does that mean? Are we keeping the house? Like, you're entirely moving out? I did get frustrated because I was like, dude, what the heck? Now you're changing up the whole situation again. I do think it's the right decision. It was just a hard pill to swallow at first.
Although it's hard to say exactly why she's decided to move, this felt somewhat inevitable from the breakup video. But again, you'd once again be poised to ask how this is going to affect the content. You now have two people living in separate houses, taking the children on separate outings. It just feels like the rift between them is growing wider and wider, and that it'd be a challenge for any couple to consolidate that in the form of YouTube content.
Say, like, as much as we love updating you guys, and I mean, that's like a big thing to us, we both genuinely want to do that. I do feel like we're both trying to keep the kids' process as private as possible.
You're a family channel, Kira. You gave up on your privacy years ago and have still been making multiple references to this in front of your children and your audience alike in the past month.
Trying to consider all factors, the kids, the finances, us as friends, us as individuals, like long-term goals, short-term goals, Levi's school, babysit, like every aspect, and trying to make that all work the best way in one situation is very difficult to figure out. And on top of that, we have the world giving their opinion, a lot of people that know us, a lot of people that have no idea about us.
You don't mind. I like seeing new perspectives and I like understanding what or thinking or seeing things that I didn't even think of.
I agree, but I think that the people that have no idea about our situation commenting becomes overwhelming and silly, and especially people who have not been through something like this.
Again, it feels like Kira has come into the video already with a preconceived point of view and narrative, and Oscar's facial expressions send the message that this might very well be news to him as much as it is to the audience. And again, it gives the impression that there may well be an ulterior motive.
The biggest learning curve for him and I through this right now is like, we so badly want to be friends, but there's so many emotions, a lot of hurt feelings on both ends, a lot of lack of understanding each other and each other's choices.
Now, it's not fair for us to jump to conclusions based on the limited information we've received, but up until this point, Kira's handling of all these videos where she sits down and tries to have a conversation don't feel very conversational.
That was a family date. Oh, so for your future girlfriend's sake, a date.
Family hangout.
Yeah, that was a good family date.
That's what a date. So that's where I'm wrong.
Anyway, but look, maybe this is a really awkward situation for her. She doesn't know how to sit in front of a camera, and we all have general ideas of how we're going to talk about a subject when it comes up. No vlog like this could ever be truly spontaneous because they made the decision to sit down, record, edit, and upload it. That's kind of what made the original upload so shocking in the first place. Whatever the reason for this sudden change in plans was, it wasn't really anybody's place to say. The truth was that although Kira was acting strange, the strangest part was the fact that we had to witness it at all. And unless we had evidence to the contrary, we just had to take her comments at face value. And maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she just needed the spacious apartment to herself and away from Oscar to enjoy the time alone. Something she's already repeatedly emphasized. What reason would she have to lie? Over the next few months, Oscar and Kira continued to grow apart together on the channel.
I'm discovering more about me personally and learning how to be kind of on my own, because obviously you're still in their lives, but I think you could say the same. Like, I'm not around when you're with them, and you're not around when I'm with them. So kind of like navigating single parent life, and just, yeah, it's interesting, but I definitely do feel happy, and I definitely think that considering the time that it's only been a couple months, and I think we're both in a much better place.
Kira finds a new apartment and moves there. Oscar talks more about his own personal challenges, such as trying to find progression in life, and although they still have their awkward moments,
She's gonna watch the kids while I pack up the trailer, and then I'm gonna help her pack up the mattress and take it to your place, which I'm really excited to see.
I haven't seen it.
Am I going inside, or am I just like dropping off and saying peace?
We didn't think so.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Right back. Right. You never know that thing. Look, I've been in a relationship. I know it doesn't seem like it here. But you're slow as hell. You do that. So I'll see you in like hours.
Maybe that was just the only time I got away from you when we were together. Never think about that.
it began to feel like they might at least be moving on from each other and finding a middle ground where they could coexist. Finally, the whole family back together, happy and healthy, ready to take on the world.
You think you're cheating? I truthfully don't know, guys. I really don't know.
But everything would change after a few months, given the many theories that Kyra's intent to impose a narrative on the situation and Oscar's hesitancy to confirm what Kira was saying. Many wondered if Oscar was leaving the door open to confirm what many thought to be true, that Kira had an affair and that this was the real catalyst for the end of their relationship. Nobody could really say who this person was or whether we even knew them, but it felt like only a matter of time before Oscar or someone close to them would eventually break the news. However, in May, an unlikely source came forward with an equally surprising claim.
But this Okay Baby, Kira and Oscar story is about to blow wide open right here. So let's go.
It was the Dad Challenge podcast. Now, Josh is known for making a lot of reaction content, many of it with his own personal criticism, but he wouldn't have been the person you would expect to be able to provide any insider information on the nature of OK Baby's personal business until now. Because in this video, posted on May 21st, 2022, from the report of a third-party source, Josh alleges that there was indeed another man, and that this person was someone much closer to home.
Even Oscar alluded to her cheating on him, and a lot of people are saying that she did. Oscar went live the other day and said, I don't know, maybe. But if my source is correct, the person that reached out to me today, absolutely, Kira has been doing that and worse. So, this girl reached out to me. I'm not going to be telling you what her name is, because she doesn't want to be on camera. She doesn't want her name out there. But she said, look, I forget how to say this. I need to tell you something. I had a threesome with Preston and Kira.
Preston? The guy from the podcast? Wait, I thought he was... Oh, shit.
This is my not baby daddy because apparently we have some like baby daddy that doesn't want to be baby daddy. I don't know.
Preston was Kira's best friend's husband. Throughout much of the story, there was no great sense that these two were particularly close, which is what made this accusation so surprising.
Answer is heck no. I'm absolutely terrified to date again one day. I think it's like, oh, I don't know. Everything about that makes my heart. I'm not much of a dater. I don't know. I don't really. That's not. I don't know. I just like don't. That's scary.
However, there was knowledge that Preston and Hannah's marriage had been annulled in the past month.
Okay, I'm unmuted. My sister's outside walking the dog right now.
On the other hand, it would also be an absolute betrayal on so many levels for a person to cheat on her fiance with her best friend's husband. As an allegation that the Dad Challenge podcast is promoting from a third party.
I wonder what those hitboxes look like.
And definitely requires elaboration and evidence. Josh provides this, but not without context, of which the story feels too bizarre to make up.
Preston on Bumble sent this to my source. Says, hi. Hi, did you read profile? Yes. You interested? We are. Are you? Paradise, where are you? Yes, I am. So he's asking where she's from, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, they're in Vegas at this point. This is April 21st, 2022. If you want to proof that Kira's in Vegas, here it is. I did find it. So Kira's here in Vegas at the Wynn Hotel, which is a very, very posh, fancy hotel. Very expensive. Like, crazy expensive. These people just spend money like water. And this is the photo that Preston sent.
Yeah, spend money like water.
Yes, that's Preston.
I'm not really a believer in eat the rich, but I will say that some rich people, they need to learn to value the money they have.
Show you what rough really feels like. Kira. So this is Kira texting from Preston's account.
Could be, could not be, whatever.
In summary, okay, the allegation was that Preston and Kira went to Las Vegas. They decided that they would engage in a threesome with another individual, sharing some information that seemed wildly contradictory to the image that they were portraying on the channel. The evidence to back this up includes a photo and text messages. The picture being shared is clearly Kira and Preston, and Kira signs her name when using Preston's phone. Josh also provides strong circumstantial evidence to show that Kira is indeed in Vegas. And by this point, everything feels like it's conveniently lining up. Even if we set the freaky stuff aside, we can assume that Kira and Preston have traveled to Las Vegas together. This is already looking pretty cut and dry, but the more interesting allegation is the one that follows, when this anonymous individual reveals that Kira made a claim that seemed to conflict with the numerous statements she had put out on OK Baby and her own personal...
Oscar kind of reminds me of that one guy that was abused from The Hangover.
For over 8 months.
She beats him. Oh, yeah, I deserved it. I was out of line.
When we broke up video was 4 months ago. Okay? And before that, the actual breakup was on Oscar and Kira's anniversary. December 21st, I think, like that. Something like that. So if you're doing the math with me, that's September 2021. That Kira admits to this person that they have been dating.
This would tear up the narrative that she had spun around just wanting to go out and experience the world as a single person. This would imply that she had been cheating on Oscar for months on end, and it would also imply that Preston had been cheating on Hannah for months on end, all while they filmed their podcast together where they talk about sex with their partners. Kinda makes you wonder which partner Kira was really thinking about.
Kira said, like she asked,
yeah.
Do you get jealous of him and all that kind of stuff? And Kira said yes, according to my source. Well, not really, because I was the other third person before this. She said there was. I was the third person. And so now I'm together with him, and I'm not the third person anymore. And so I don't really get jealous. But we did this, and it ruined my friendship with
I was considering maybe doing an S action to see that. I don't know.
So she's basically saying that they did threesomes and that it turned out.
I know it doesn't do anything. I know Ralsei's doesn't do anything. But like, I don't know. Maybe it makes the attack stronger. I don't know. I just want to test it. See if my theory is correct.
Though I need to disclose that a lot of the stuff that follows.
If it doesn't work, I can just go back to just only doing the root buster.
But this source alleges that Kira revealed that she started off as the third wheel in a threesome dynamic and then moved into the more intimate relationship with Preston. It's not crystal clear whether the other person in the original threesome is Hannah, but that appears to be the implication.
Kira was likely having a relationship with Hannah and Preston in September, and could have been before that, which means that they
seems about the same.
All of them were sitting there.
Well, at least I don't have to worry about misclicks.
Honestly, all of this stuff makes me feel like we're just a little too close to these people. But when you foster a relationship with your audience, when you create a family channel that shares all of these intimate details about your own life, on top
it seems more or less the same. I guess the only benefit is that you don't have to worry about accidentally clicking S action.
Opening yourself up to this sort of investigation. I'm sorry. I still don't understand how you go from having a family channel to promoting your NSFW podcast on it. It'd be like if Stampy Longhead started an OnlyFans.
I asked her to share Preston's phone number, and she shared Preston's phone number, and then I corroborated that with someone who knew what Preston's phone number was, and they were the exact same number.
These were claims that could jettison the remains of the working relationship between Oscar and Kira, and by extension, the entire OK Baby channel. And they only drew more ire to somebody who was already receiving a lot of suspicious gazes. But this time, it felt like these claims were also far too substantiated to actually ignore. Further to this, a creator by the name of A posted a screenshot of Hannah allegedly confirming that Preston and Kira were dating now. This screenshot isn't the highest quality, so it has to be taken with a grain of salt, but combined with the other evidence, their relationship seemed all but confirmed. So what would Kira say to this?
All I will say regarding this is that some people will do anything in their power to try to bring others down. Be that through rumors, lies, or anything else they can get their hands on. It's not worth my time to defend every single thing said about me.
Well, a predictably vague response, slamming the claims as rumors and lies, only really entering specifics to reiterate that she didn't cheat on Oscar, which would contradict the testimony of the person she allegedly had a threesome with in Vegas. I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Regardless of what I believe it or not, I did not and have never cheated on Oscar. I've never cheated on anyone in my entire life.
Interestingly, this post doesn't really address the most major of all the claims, that she was in a relationship with her best friend's fiance, instead deciding to deflect the notion of privacy, something she's never seemed to care about before. The fact that she chose to address cheating allegations but not the homewrecker one is certainly an interesting choice, given one of them was much more prominent at this point. However, with the evidence available, was there really anything she could deny? Not really, but she still takes time out of responding to the allegations to attack her critics, saying that all these people who claim to be concerned about her children were actually making it far worse through such drama.
Ironic how so many people say they are worried for my kids, but the only thing harming or embarrassing them is the drama and rumors that these exact same people are creating and spreading.
I think this is the low point of her response, because no young child should have any relation to internet drama, even if a parent is involved. The only reason they would be affected by this is if they've been provided an unhealthy attachment through irresponsible parenting. By this point, Kira's response seemed to be more buying time to escape the scrutiny of people like the Dad Challenge podcast, who used this response into other old clips to drive home the point that this behavior was second nature to her, and that there was reason to believe.
Give me a second, I'm still pissing. The dogs are here and I had to like keep them away from my food and my mic.
Their respective relationships.
The person that sent me the socks that Kira was wearing, that
My sister was outside though.
During the podcast, that are a 4-pack for $100. These socks, they're so specific, and she's wearing part of the pack of the socks that someone pointed out. It was. I'll see if I can put the photos if I have them here. Mind blowing what people are gonna find.
It's not hard to see why, especially if you had followed this saga closely. Kira had spent years divulging details about her family and was now all of a sudden falling back onto the privacy argument when it came to who she was dating. This would have only really felt consistent if she decided to stop uploading content and allowed everyone else in her life an ounce of privacy too. But the content kept on coming, with an uncomfortable focus on the fact that Oscar was now acting as a single father. This information, alongside the many videos where Kira seemed to at least exact some sort of control over the narratives, and Oscar's occasional references to her growing close with someone else, felt like more than enough evidence that Kira's evasiveness camouflaged something great. And with this arose questions around the nature of how a channel like OK Baby could even possibly continue to operate under the pretense that this was still a couple who were as invested in each other as much as their children. And now many viewers held a very different perception to the one they had long presented on the channel. To many, the reality of the situation seemed evident. The end of OK Baby was rapidly approaching. On July 31st, 2022, nearly 8 months after Oscar and Kira...
Your vision arrows, the world revolves around you. Ah, devil reference.
The video titled OK Baby is coming to an end.
I think it's time we make it official. Yeah, we've got a couple things coming up. We're getting ready to go our separate ways as much as we can. Pretty much the only thing holding us together is the kids from around.
I think you can imagine that this was another uncomfortable watch, but as opposed to in the past where Kira had dominated the conversation, here we immediately see a very different side of Oscar.
Okay, Baby is coming to an end. I think the plan is to make 2 more videos. It's gonna be like our final season. I mean, it's been kind of our final season.
3 episodes.
Yeah, it's been our final season. We're just trying to make it official now.
It's hard to say exactly how much Oscar knew about his former partner's affairs and how much of a role that played in the channel's demise, but it doesn't feel like an insignificant one. At one point, Oscar and Kira appeared to be cohabitating, but following Kira's decision to move out and the substantiated claims around her at least being in a new relationship, it seemed completely incompatible.
The knight's hands glow a strange color.
Something that Kira seems pretty upset about. In fact, more upset about this than her breakup with Oscar.
Both know it's what's best, and that's why we're doing it ultimately, but I think that it's been dragged on, if you will. And when we both have known it's probably going to come to an end for a while.
Ah, shit, I was so close. I think I was.
Definitely not easy. I mean, this has been...
I definitely made it further than I ever did.
This has been the biggest part of our life.
Also, the dogs are here distracting me.
It's perfectly acceptable to be sad about a personal project coming to an end, but Kira's distraughtness at this news, in comparison to her apparent nonchalance in previous content is what left many with a rather bad taste in their mouth. It felt much more difficult.
At least I know that I think I can do this. I think I can win this.
Handling things now that we'd actually seen her going through legitimate grief. She still had that awkward laugh and the lighthearted comments, but you could hear her sniffing and breathing in between comments like she had been crying. Regardless of how you felt about her sincerity, one thing became apparent. Unlike the breakup, this was not something she planned.
Overall, it definitely is more exciting. It's just like sitting here when you really think about that channel not, or this channel not being a thing anymore. It's just like the weirdest thing.
Whether everything had happened much more quickly than she expected, or whether she was met with unexpected resistance from her prior partner when her personal choices went public, it was clear that up until very, very recently, maybe
I'm checking the mic. I don't trust my microphone. Okay, we're still good.
It was a salvageable project. Even if she insists this was a joint decision, her tone gives away that it clearly wasn't.
You know, this is now a development
should have healed.
business, if you will, and now we go and start that somewhere else. And having 4 kids, because when we started this, we didn't have 4.
Having 4 kids is going to be the trickiest part, but I think we got this. I don't see why not. And if all else,
of course Susie goes down. Why wouldn't she?
Spontaneous videos once a week.
Did I do the whole breath thing?
Taken a genius to
okay, I
tell her
did.
that this was a channel beyond saving. It was actually more surprising that they had managed to keep the channel going for over half a year, given how quickly the actual friendship between Kira and Oscar appeared to decompose. This is a couple that had proclaimed they were best friends before lovers in their breakup video, but had now reduced that friendship to only being in contact when dealing with the children. I assume they had some revenue sharing agreement, and from Oscar's perspective, that probably became increasingly one-sided as he continued to upload content in Kira's absence. The decision to end the channel makes perfect sense and allows them to focus on their own interests without the restraints of the other party. You wouldn't think it'd be the worst news, especially given that she still had a channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Yet Kira continues to sound completely beside herself. The contrast between the two mentalities in this video can be summed up in this exchange. Oscar is letting go of something that he, at one point, thought the world of, but doing it out of his own free will, whereas Kira seems to be letting it go against her will.
It's kind of like being fired from your dream job. It's letting go.
There's a lot of discussion about the psychology behind Kira's tears, with some believing that she's not really grieving the platform, but more the relationship it gave her with Oscar as a safety net, that she had taken this gamble with her future and it hadn't paid off. I don't want to jump to conclusions on that judgment, because if someone's not happy in a relationship, I wouldn't say it's a good idea to stay in it, but I do think it represents an entitlement that Kira expected the best of both worlds, something which she was not able to reap when Oscar decided to pull the plug on the channel.
7 years, so it's been an incredible book, and it's been an incredible lifetime here on YouTube.
Dogs away from me.
Isn't worth unpacking here, including a HelloFresh sponsorship and a long philosophical discussion about the channel, which had spanned nearly their entire adulthood by this point. However, beneath all the self-exploration from both Oscar and Kira, a message continued to resonate that Oscar had a new life to pursue, one that was outside of OK Baby. All other conflicts aside, it felt like he'd come to terms with the fact that uploading content about being a single father on a channel designed to celebrate a couple and their family together was deeply unhealthy. Kira couldn't expect him to not move on either. It's something that every party will have to do, and much like Kira's January upload was her own breakup video, this was Oscar's. They stated in the video that you can expect a couple more videos on the channel before they finally stop uploading, but these videos never came, and the channel fell inactive, marking the end of yet another family channel. OK Baby could have been like many others in its genre, their content falling into an unexceptional and slightly questionable but otherwise innocuous niche. However, when shit hit the fan, they chose to go that one step further in actually showing the very grisly personal details of people's lives when they encounter those challenges, while also showing how those details can be twisted and fabricated to tell a completely different story to the one that was transpiring. It created a delusion that something was still there, a delusion that could only be broken by ending the root cause of it, the family channel that had created those whitewashed memories in this was finally a chance for both of them to move on.
I just think it makes me more excited to see what's to come next.
This is where the story would normally end. Both Kira and Oscar going their separate ways, privately consolidate their lives, and move forward in ways that would allow them each to grow. This is where the story should end.
I mean, I think that the only thing that keeps me afloat at this point is knowing that we're both still doing YouTube. And like, you know, I have a YouTube channel, he has a YouTube channel.
In their video, they do promote their respective channels, which would imply that they weren't yet finished with YouTube. But while Oscar's content seemed to veer away from family matters and started to have more to do with his own personal escapades, Kira continued to publish content concerning her family with the day in the life videos. This obviously wasn't a very good decision, because even if you've moved on from the channel, those children are always going to be a window to that past, and commentators continue to react and respond to her videos.
How do you ignore the hate when there's so much? Kira said, honestly, it's been hard at times. Usually the haters are the biggest fans. So at the end of the day, I'm grateful for them, and I feel bad they have so much anger and hate in their hearts. As cheesy as that sounds, I've actually been there, and it's hard, and it sucks.
This would all culminate in early December 2022, where after a rough few days, Kira decided to post on her story, explaining her side of the whole situation, including her relationship status, confirming that she is dating Preston, and offering her insight on various other claims that people had speculated on.
We had a ton of problems behind the scenes and had a few times prior to this that we almost broke up, which also includes him leaving me. He left you, okay? Preston did not leave Hannah for me.
To do this in a bad mental state and then using that mental state as a justification is already a terrible idea. If anything, you want to be in a good headspace. But what does her response constitute?
I am dating Preston, and we have been seeing each other since March of this year. Sometimes friends that are there for you in tough situations turn into more.
Well, she doesn't deny the main claims, but also says there's a lot of context and states that Preston was a friend who was there for her in a difficult time, and that this support grew into something more. She states that her and Oscar had gone through multiple rough patches, and that Oscar had actually left her at one point. She talks about the friends she's lost and apologizes for her family, such as her attitude during the breakup video, and concludes on a sincere request for people to stop talking about the subject. How did that turn out?
It's crazy to see how it's all unfolded for these two over the years, and the fact that Kira is even addressing any of this. I really didn't think that she was ever going to be talking about her and Oscar, her and Preston, her and Karen especially, her other friendships. I mean, this is definitely wild.
If you want these drama channels to stop talking about you, I'm sorry, but making a post like this just isn't gonna do it. You even directly call them out in your post while dropping bombshells about your relationship. Why not draw a drama channel summoning circle while you're at it? It's got me questioning whether this was some kind of bait, but I also question if Kira is actually calculated enough, especially when so many felt they caught her in a bare-faced lie.
Preston filed for divorce from Hannah in April of 2022. It was finalized in June 2022. She's lying if she said he didn't leave Hannah for her. How could they have been dating in March when he wasn't even divorced yet?
All available evidence had indicated that the annulment or divorce proceedings between Hannah and Preston had begun in April of 2022, a month after Kira claims she had started dating Preston, which would contradict her claim on the same story that Preston did not leave Hannah for her. It's also such a strange claim because it's hard to see it any other way, that they both just happen to leave relationships with people very close to home and stumble into each other's arms. And again, it made the post feel more calculated than it should have been. Was Kira just using a bad mental state to present a facade of honesty? Did she think that would work after her previous attempts to control the narrative surrounding her relationship with Oscar? Probably the most telling part of where her priorities lie, though, is her complaining that she just wants to make content about her, Oscar, and her children, and doesn't want to talk about her relationship, as the channel doesn't concern that? I'm sorry, but you had no issue showing Preston in your old content or your old podcast, and I think you having a new boyfriend, it does affect your relationship with the rest of the family, positive or negative. All of these stories felt like Kira was trying to do damage control for something where the damage had already been done. The following year, she went on Oscar's channel to do a Q&A, and the first question that happened to be chosen was
transition into that was a little easier, which is kind of nice, but it was still really, really awkward and uncomfortable.
Do you feel like it's better?
Yeah. I feel like our friendship isn't there anymore, but hey, that's what it has to be. It's just, yeah, you guys are doing your thing.
Oscar handles this with dignity, but again, I can't help but feel like Kira is desperate to repair her image by receiving Oscar's blessing and using it to talk about how she handled the situation poorly.
I do kind of regret how I handled things online. Actually, not kind of, a lot. I do feel like that I was trying to pretend I was okay when truly I wasn't, and I should have accepted and not embraced, but like just been okay with having emotions at the time. And then also, I think I should have given more space and not tried to be friends right away.
It's nice to hear some reflection, but with how deliberate she had been in the past, it's kind of hard to take any of her explanations at face value. Much of the video feels like Kira is still desperate to ride on the coattails of OK Baby's legacy while patching up her own reputation.
Especially in the last year, I've learned so much about friendships, relationships, myself, how to respect myself. Because truly, if you don't love and respect yourself, you can't provide that for somebody else.
And maybe that's just the nature of content creation. There is an element that's for hers. I hate to break the veneer for you guys, but I'm not just yapping off the top of my head here. And I think that while Oscar had effectively moved on by this point, Kira was still very insecure about how she was being perceived, not appreciating that how she was perceived tied back to OK Baby. Every time she drew views by alluding to that channel in her content, she reminded people of how it ended. It was that toxic both worlds mentality rearing its head again, that no matter how hard you try, you can't stop people from going through your old content and creating compilations of you and Preston fraternizing. And until you did something about that, you'd be eternally caught in this feedback, something that by mid-2023, Oscar seemed to have escaped.
Time for a massive update.
On August 1st, Oscar uploaded a video to his channel titled The Story of the Broken Knee. It documents a lot of the difficulties in his life and how he was in the process of overcoming them.
This is a hard video for me to make, and it was truthfully uncomfortable. I like making happy videos, and obviously this one wasn't. But I felt the need to make it so that I didn't feel like those emotions had power over me anymore. I wanted to get them out there, just let them be, and that way I can start being myself again.
It's an honest video that shows us a side of Oscar that we don't usually get to see, but probably the most telling detail was the fact that there wasn't a single mention of OK Baby or Kira. This idea that the channel was so far removed from his story now that it wasn't even worth acknowledging kind of said a lot. And in the coming months, he continued to move from strength to strength, entering a new relationship, going on holiday, and finding a job outside of YouTube. It was the progress that everyone wanted to see, and many congratulated him on it, which was all in contrast to his ex-fiance.
I am one of those parents who believes my child needs to be in something, no matter what it is. It can be art, it can be dance, it can be soccer, I don't care what. And it's funny because I actually read a comment from like a hater, obviously, but they were like, you only want your kids in stuff so you don't have to take care of them because you're lazy, or whatever it was. And that, if you're a parent of kids who are in activities, you know that's not true, because having your kids in sports or activities is like way more work than not.
By this point, Kira was still creating content in the same vein she had always been, even still being drawn into conflict with her old foes.
I have thought about the way I feel and the way that I've wanted to talk about things for nearly 2 years on camera. But the last time I got on way too soon on camera after something, it didn't end very well. So I've been trying to wait for the right time and the right words, but that's not a thing.
However, a few months after, Kira posted a video titled Fresh Start. And unlike Oscar, she immediately goes to tackle the elephant in the room once more, which was her handling of the breakup and everything that followed.
The first thing I want to say is that I'm really sorry. I feel very embarrassed and frustrated with the way that I've handled things, the way I've talked about things, and mostly the way that I've let down people who really do love, support, and care about me and the kids and the family. I feel like one morning I woke up and I took off running, and I haven't stopped. I know my breakup was a letdown to a lot of people, and I get it. I still feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame over the fact that it was my choice, and the fact that I didn't handle it the way that I should have, the way that I wanted to. Like, I wanted to do it right. I marriage and I was emotionless, and I hurt a lot of people in my life that I really do care about their opinions, and this goes for offline too, like not just on the internet.
This is probably her most honest upload in addressing the matter, and here she admits that her behavior is probably wrong, but also that she's in love and that there's nothing that can change that.
No, nothing about this situation as far as him and I go is going to change. We're about to get married. I'm very happy. I'm the happiest that I have been in myself and as a human being, but also in a relationship. And I know that's really hard to come by. I mean, how many people in their lives can say that they're genuinely in relationships that they feel equal in and loved in, and they feel love to give in?
With that said, she still maintains that they both left their relationships before falling in love and bonded over the fact that they had both been vilified due to it.
I'm not embarrassed of him. I think he's one of the greatest people to exist, but it doesn't mean that I'm not embarrassed by this situation. I know it's not right. He knows it's not right. We know it's not right, but it is what it is. We both really bonded and fell in love over being hurt by being the bad guys, because both of us were the people who left our relationships, and by having nobody.
If we set aside the evidence that contradicts her here, even by basic logic, by Kira's own admission, she was only the bad guy because of how she handled the breakup. Preston, for all we know, didn't have enough of a public presence to be branded a bad guy, unless he also handled it badly behind the scenes. This story just isn't adding up, and regardless of whether she cheated or not, Kira's version of honesty, this time presented through this idea that she's just speaking freely, still doesn't feel honest. And besides, where's the fresh start? We're almost 4 minutes into a 6-minute video.
So no, I don't wish it happened that way. But I want to move forward, and I want to just do a better job about being honest with who I am, expressing my hard times, not worrying about the comments or people taking things the wrong way or taking the truth and then manipulating it into a million other things.
I understand that sometimes we need to talk about a situation in order to move on from it. But unless Kira was planning to admit anything new, then there was just nothing to say here. It's interesting how Oscar was able to set a placeholder for a new start without even mentioning the sequence of events that led him to that specific place. He understood that a fresh start
It was probably a correlation is causation, but I'm going to try that Susie thing again. I feel like I made it farther when I did that.
Lessons over the past 2 years. The thing about a fresh start is that it's kind of in the name. It can only work if you actively choose to change. And for Kira, that would mean changing her content. It would mean changing her approach to handling hate and criticism. It would mean changing her life from OK Baby, where the content would really only concern pregnancy and childcare, especially when you said that ship had sailed yourself.
You could possibly get pregnant again, but to have a successful, healthy pregnancy again would be very unlikely. Yeah, and very dangerous. For me, more so. She didn't say like the baby wouldn't necessarily survive, but she just said like there's a high chance that I possibly wouldn't survive that.
One of the pressing questions which had surrounded Kira's new relationship was regarding whether she intended to have more children. She already had 4 with Oscar, and after the 4th, she reported in a YouTube video that a doctor had advised her that it would be dangerous to have any more.
We have so much opportunity, and that's
Okay, I think it's gonna rain soon.
Because this house comes with character, it also is a house in the 20s. So when it comes to how long will this house actually stand, how long could we live in it, could we have more kids in it because we do want more kids, like all these things.
In spite of this though, Kira's tune had changed significantly now that she was with Preston, entertaining the idea that she might have 1 or 2 more kids. However, with Kira's comments concerning a fresh start a few months later, you might receive the impression that this was off the table. This wasn't the only change she had enacted in her content at this time. A month before her fresh start video, she stated that she had made the decision to not show her children in content anymore. I mean, her justification wasn't the best, and she doesn't seem to care that she did it in the past, but yeah, it's a start.
I've absolutely loved sharing my kids' life on the internet, and I do not regret any of it. There's probably certain moments or certain things that I would have filmed differently or maybe not filmed, but overall, I'm happy with the decisions I've made as a parent when it comes to doing YouTube with kids. Am I doing it because I believe that I'm exploiting my children? No. Truthfully, it's not that deep, it's not that serious. I simply just feel like it's the right time to make my content about me
engagement and their subsequent wedding. At first, it appeared that maybe Kira was prepared to follow through on her commitment, but after a while, it seemed that the relationship with her old content was creeping back into frame, most demonstrated by Kira's continued reflections on it.
The content that I put online, the version, we're going to call it, of myself, which I feel like is just me, that I put out there is what people group together and make their assumption based off of. Like, that's who people think I am, which isn't a bad thing. You know, me and the people in my life talk about this often. I'm not sure where so many of these assumptions come from, you know? Like, and then I automatically hear people's responses, like, are you kidding? Well, look at what you did, which what I did is not even what happened.
What you did was not actually what happened? I understand what she's trying to say, but this is the importance of education. The greater observation that should be made, though, is that we are now 2 years in, and she is still responding to people whose views are not up for negotiation. Why is Kira still addressing people who have already made up their mind about her? Is it for the views? Because 75,000 views is really not worth the hassle of having to poorly explain yourself for the millionth time.
It's so hard, and I am a very